Hello, Mike.
Hello. I'm not sure who's. Oh, hey, it's Matt Kaplan. What's up, dude?
No, don't worry.
Here we go.
Sorry, I was so confused.
Excited about this today. Today's going to be fun.
Hey, yup. Yup.
What was that, Attila? Hey, yup.
I don't know why I said it like that. I don't know, man.
Yep, today going to be a great show. You
It's
betcha.
gonna be a good show. I think Jared's impersonations are wearing off on me.
Yeah. It was so funny. My mom asked me earlier. She was just like, "So what's your show going to be about today?" And I'm just like,
I think that's the right
space?
That's the right one.
Yeah, but opens this. I know I'm missing something. I'm missing
Oh,
the...
beta.
Right.
At the front, I think it is. Hang on.
Okay.
Oh, no, sorry. Slash?
Oh, okay.
That. This one.
Okay, because it should come up. I just saw it. Okay.
Yeah.
Not as baby face today. 2 more weeks, I'll be back to normal.
This looks funky. Why you look so weird?
Oh, yeah. It does look weird. What's going on? Is that because I'm on a Mac? Why does it want a code? Colton, the chat's different.
The chat's different. I don't like it. Did it go kablooey? Seems good
it
on my end.
looks, It looks funky.
I'm very confused.
Um,
Oh, no, okay, just refresh and it fixes itself.
okay. Okay, great.
Cool, we're fine. Don't stress, internet.
Prismara.
Hi, Neuropilot.
Yeah, I look weird in a goatee. I look a lot like my brother, and it creeps me out. What up, Lukey Dragon?
I'm going to go over cold open once more. I know you did that, and I appreciate it, but I do want to do one more round.
Yeah,
Hi, Mike.
I don't know what we're saying for the interview
Hi, Ben.
yet. We also need to figure out how to do the Brookie segment. I haven't really
so-
talked that through.
I think, where is Haley? Did we lose her?
Where are you?
Observation deck.
Let's commence the sticking.
Pull you in for a second. So,
Stickering.
so I don't have the rundown in front of me, but the last story is Supernova. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? Yep.
Yep, that's
your
last.
So after Supernova, I think what we'll do, we'll leave the door open for this one, and then as you're in your Supernova story, Haley, we'll have you kind of staged in our green room. Lisa, if you want to toss and say we have a special surprise, we're going to bring on. Do you have a Tomorrow sticker, by the way? Bring on Haley, rookies, blah, 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 talking about a way that you can get involved, and if you're interested in stuff, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then during that segment, I'll guide you, I'll walk you up to the door, and you can just kind of walk in as she's doing this like introduction segment. And then, Athena, what are you looking for?
Stickers.
Oh, for my stickers? Yeah, put your thing on.
Carrie Ann has one. Yay!
So you're going to be standing right there, yes?
I like this one.
Yes.
Yes, I'll be standing here.
Great. So we're going to have you loop around to right about here.
Okay.
So go ahead and slide right over there. Lisa,
Do you need me
cannot
to...
move to the left. No.
No, that's not going to work. I mean, I can hang off the end of my... Wait, I can step on this thing.
No.
That's not safe.
No. No.
Ow! You're stepping on my foot.
Sorry, Mike.
Step down for a second, please.
Mike.
Robots have feelings too. Holograms have feelings too.
Step down again. One more time.
You are amazing.
That works, yes? Are you comfortable? Yeah. Is it unbalanced?
Nope, it's fine.
Great. So, all right, let's have you slide ever so slightly there, and then you step in here. You see that? All right, so this is how we're going to stage the shot when we go into that segment. So, Athena, you're going to move to where you're about at right now.
Okay.
You're going to slide over ever so slightly, but you're kind of going to be where you're at now, and then you'll stand right there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd move if I could.
Sorry, Haley, what's your last name?
Lewis.
Haley Lewis.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Oh, you know what? We should get a banner for that. Dada, I'm going to get a banner for Haley.
We can do that.
That's not a bad idea.
And now you can scooch more. More.
Like a lot.
More. You got another
It's okay.
3 inches.
It's okay. I won't.
There you go.
It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, but she's still limited by. Oh, I guess that works. Yeah.
There's plenty of room there.
Yeah, as
Now-
long as Mike
now
moves
the
over
point.
like that, then he's not covered.
Yeah.
Cool. Go team.
Awesome.
I'm still
I'm
in
going to
my
move your microphone
position.
down.
Look, I'm right there.
Okay.
But if I move
Forgive
over,
my reach. You need to get it out of your hair because otherwise your hair is going to create.
Hey, Jared, have you been thinking about what you're going to say for cold open?
Yes.
It'll actually.
Awesome.
Can you move your hair to the front again so we can see if it's going to brush again?
Yeah. Then we'll get that
No,
out.
we should be okay. All right. Dada, I'd like to do a quick mic check on Haley if we can, and then we'll release her. And you can leave it on. Dada will take care of making sure you're muted at the correct time. So you don't need to worry about turning it on, turning it off. We'll take care of all that from the control room.
Awesome.
Tell me what you had for breakfast this morning. What'd you have for dinner last night?
I had mac and cheese.
What's your favorite meal of all time?
Grapes. I know that's not a meal, but like that's my like favorite food.
Your favorite food is grapes?
Yes.
Like in grape form or in wine form?
In the grape form, like the fruit.
Any reason why grapes?
No.
You good?
They do sell these cotton candy ones, which are pretty good.
Cotton candy grapes? Those sound
What?
weird, and like I
They're
want to
li-
try them, but I don't think I'll like them.
I don't know. I found them in like a Trader Joe's-esque store. They're pretty good.
All right, cool. You're good, Dada?
Yeah. Mic checks for Jared, please.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. It's me. I'm here. I'm alive, mostly, for the most part.
Cool. Can you signal Matt, please?
Just tell us, what have you had for breakfast this morning?
Oh, I had cereal.
What kind of cereal?
I had, bran flakes, because that's good when you're my age.
Cool. Thank you.
And
Athena, your mic is not on.
Is. All right. So I just scarfed down
Wait, what are you doing?
a protein bar. And it was very yummy, and I had a lot of coffee.
Okay. Thank you.
Lisa.
Hi, my name's Lisa. I'm really excited about
Lisa.
tomorrow, and it's going to be a great show, and I'm super excited. And I have 2 vehicles at the moment. One of them is electric, and I'm really excited about that. Woo!
Thank you, Mike.
Oh man, so for those of you who don't know, it's Lisa, not Lisa. If you call her Lisa, that is offensive. So for the sake of her feelings, it's Lisa, okay? We all have gotten on board with it. You can too.
Thank you. It's only not offensive if you say Lisa upside down.
There's chocolate now.
Hey, Mike, really quickly. So I've gone in for your post-launch wrap-up, and I've put in 2 pauses. Don't keep talking until I ask you a question during those pauses, yeah? It's going to be weird.
sure.
Like, it may be weird.
that's crazy,
I
because
don't know.
you'd think
We
that by
can
now,
practice it if you
I
want,
mean,
but like...
I don't know which is
first
Kellogg
one,
and which is Post.
But yeah, if you have a, like you specifically,
Yay!
So, when I give you the
refresh.
post-launch wrap-up, you're going to be like, yeah, all these launches were like
Looking
taking
official.
engineering and improving what already exists. And then you're going to pause because I'm going to be like, oh, so how are they, how
how?
is this, how are these satellites different from the existing technology that we already had? And you're going to say your next paragraph that you've got there, which is fine. You go through all of that. And then I'm going to ask you about update the launch numbers for this year. So those are the 2 questions I'm going to ask. And I've put pauses in that script for you. All good?
perfect. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
Great. And
I know we're not supposed to script things, but it's knowing that plan of like, hey, this would be a good place to pause for a moment. That really helps.
Yeah, and to reiterate, it's not that it's no scripts. What it is I want casual conversations, and scripts take away from that.
Sure.
But if we need moments
Sure.
that allow us to break in, especially to deal with the delay from a technical side, that's acceptable, right? We should do whatever is necessary in order to have a good conversational show. That's ultimately what no scripts means. All right, so Mike, can you cover, and I'm sorry, Lisa may have already done this, but I'd like to do it just one more time. Can you cover what you're going to say in your cold open for me, please?
Oh man, Rocket Lab is going to be enabling more launches from the United States and opening up more customers. And those of us who are based here in the United States might actually get to see an Electron. It's awesome. Stay tuned.
Give me a second.
Something along those lines. Lab is enabling more launches from the United States and enabling unique orbits for their
Yeah.
customers.
I did.
We worked that a little bit already.
Yeah,
I
that
can't
feels
think of
very-
another angle besides, hey, more opportunities to see a launch from the US.
More opportunities to launch from the U.S., but also we've got these small sat launchers actually growing, right? So we're seeing that. But I think that was generally covered fairly well. So I think that's acceptable.
He also doesn't say where, so I feel like it's almost like, oh, because if you didn't know
Oh,
the
yeah,
news,
yeah.
like, oh, yeah, you should say that. Oh, there's going to be more launches from the
I'll
US.
pose that as a
Rocket
question.
Lab,
Stay
whatever.
tuned and we'll tell you where.
Yeah.
Rocket Lab has
better.
broken ground on a new launch site. We'll tell you where.
Maybe Ben will win his bet.
No.
Maybe.
Athena?
Yeah, this is weird. Like, over the past months, like, all the different people that have been keeping track of launches and have lists online, even just the Wikipedia page, like, counted the Electron launch back in January for New Zealand, and they took that off and added it to the U.S. Launch numbers. So, yes, Rocket Lab is a U.S. company, but I want to give it to New Zealand, man.
Yeah, we're going to. That's what we do in our graphics. But all right, go ahead, Athena.
Astronomers discovered a very massive object only 2 billion years after the Big Bang. Stay tuned to find out what it is. That isn't
It's
supposed
close.
that typical
No, that's close. I'm just missing the why the hell I care.
because astronomers didn't
object
think
function
something like this could actually exist that early on in the universe.
Oh, yeah,
So
okay.
that's news.
Yeah,
so
say
that's
those
what's
words.
exciting about it. Okay. What
Yeah,
did
yeah.
I say?
Astronomers didn't think that something
This massive could
this massive-
exist only 2 billion years after the Big Bang.
Find out what that means.
Find out what that means.
You don't even need to say 2 million years after the Big Bang, I think, if you don't want.
Okay.
The key hook here is that no one thought this should exist.
Yeah, no one thought that this should exist that
Astronomers-
early on, though.
No, how about astronomers found something they didn't think should have been able to exist? Find out what it is.
Well, they know it could exist, but not that early on in the universe.
But we describe that in the
to
news
be
story
all
itself.
specific.
Again, it's just a hook.
Okay.
We're just hooking them.
Okay.
It's not untrue.
It's not untrue.
It's not untrue.
Okay, I'll use my pen. My Apple Pencil. Never thought I'd get a pencil that costs $100.
All right, we just need to run through Jared's cold open.
I'm going to be saying I'm here with Matt Kaplan, and we're going to be talking about the Planetary Society and how you can use sunlight to go around the solar system.
I like half of that.
Okay.
Put my ear in anyway.
I like the. We need to, I think, focus on using light to sail through the solar system. So.
We're talking with Matt Kaplan about how to use
I think you
light
guys
to
should
sail
focus
the
on
silent seas.
the community aspect of it, like the crowdfunding thing, right? Because
Sail
Light Sail
the
2 is
frontier.
crowdfunded, right?
Ooh.
She's saying that we should focus on the crowdfunding thing. How you can, because it's crowdfunding. Well, it's community driven.
It's
How you doing,
partly
man? Thanks for
crowdfunded.
tuning
You're
in.
right.
It's
And
community driven.
yes,
Yeah.
right.
So that's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
I mean, it
we're
also
talking.
has a major donor or an anonymous donor
But
who's
it's still,
provided
I
all
would
this
still
part.
argue community.
It would not have happened without the crowdsourcing. That's right. Either one.
So maybe I'm here with Matt Kaplan, and we're going to talk about how you can get involved in helping spacecraft
Yeah.
sail on
Now,
the sun.
That specific campaign is over, but of course we want people to join the society, and they're still supporting Light Sail
Yeah.
and everything else
I
we
think it still
do.
applies, right? The Planetary Society is still a community-driven
Absolutely.
entity.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's right.
yeah. I think something, Jared. I think something along those lines, focusing on
Hey, Dada.
both the idea that you're traveling.
Do you know how to do split screen on iPad? I kind of figured out the other day, but I don't remember how to do it.
Using light as
Okay.
well as the
Wait,
idea that
actually,
you
I think
can
I
get
did it the other
involved
way.
and
Was
you
it
can be
this?
a
Okay,
part of
thanks.
something.
He says partially crowd.
And we offer so many other ways to do that. You know, put your name on a spacecraft or
Yeah. So
support other research.
yeah. So I think that is the hook. The hook is. Yeah, you know, maybe the hook isn't even the lifestyle. How
Split
you can
view.
Yeah, maybe the hook is that Planetary Society is a group that allows anyone to be involved in
get
spaceflight.
involved in
In planetary exploration.
how you can get, and how the community can get involved in planetary exploration. Here with Matt.
Okay, I'll be talking to Matt Kaplan about how the community can get involved in planetary exploration.
That
How you, the
fits.
community.
How you, the community,
Yeah, use the
yes.
word you.
Reach out. Yep.
Our mission is empowering the world's citizens to advance space science, and exploration. So that fits perfectly. The Light Sail is
I like
just
those words.
the most visible.
I'm talking to Matt Kaplan about how
actually, that's a
the
good
Planetary
point. So,
Society
I think
empowers
this is
you, the
conversation
community,
we want to talk
to
about.
participate in
So
space
we really want to
exploration.
talk about,
Use those words.
things
Yeah.
that get the community excited, right? So be it
Sure.
light sail
By the
or
way-
ways that they can participate. 'Cause I think there's this. everyone's so, you see this new space wave coming in, everyone wants to be involved somehow.
Yeah.
But they don't feel like they know how. Like they're stuck in their day jobs. They maybe don't have aerospace engineering degrees. Like, how can a non-aerospace engineer get involved in this stuff that's really exciting?
Dead on. That is absolutely right.
That's where we
Okay, so I got something here real quick that Lisa kind of threw at me a little bit, which is I'll be talking to Matt Kaplan about how the Planetary Society empowers you, the community, to contribute to space exploration.
You don't have to follow exactly the words I'm saying.
I like that.
Okay.
I love it. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Ben.
By the way, can we
Maybe I'll
adjust
bring
camera
up,
3?
I need focus on 2.
One of the
Focus
best
on
examples
3
of
and
this
color
is
on
also
3.
one of the stupidest, nearly criminal things, which is how many thousands of people signed up for Mars One. You know, which was like horrible, but still thousands of people signing up for a one-way ticket to death.
Horrible. I think.
Yeah, I don't think it was horrible
I don't think
either,
their intentions
so-
were bad.
No,
I think that they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, I think they meant well. I absolutely agree. I think that they were sincere. They meant well. They just didn't know what the.
Okay, that's on mute.
Jared, look at me.
Hey community, thanks for joining us. We're going to be going live pretty shortly here. We're just doing our final technical tests, and I just realized I
enough
haven't
hair
even
room
talked to you
this
guys
week?
yet. So hi, hello internet. It's good to have you. I'm so concentrated on making sure all the show is working. But you're the most important
I may
thing.
make a joke about my hat.
How's that look?
Better.
Is it good? I'll do the shading.
Wait, so
Yes.
they're seeing us,
I'm gonna
not
pull the shading down, then we can.
them.
I mean, they're seeing them, but they can
Okay.
still hear us.
Oh,
I love the posters.
hello.
Yeah,
Based on the episodes, right?
those
Hello,
are weird.
everyone.
Those are
Hello,
actually
hello,
from.
hello, hello. Also, I got an Apple Watch. Yeah. Also,
I
I
feel
wasn't
so
on the show
behind
last
now.
week, was I?
No, you were not.
I was.
No, you
Not
were
in
in
the
an
United
Uber in the
States.
post wrap up.
Yeah.
I remember that.
The chat is
I like
acting
the
a little
Apple
weird
Watch.
for me.
How do you like it? Is it doing fun stuff?
Just track it, Mike.
The
We'll go
watch?
over it,
Yeah.
post-wrap.
It tells me that I'm still alive because it reads my heart rate.
Nice.
It's good to know.
Chase, do it. Sure.
Nice, nice.
It's a really cool piece of tech.
We're at 5 after. Ben, you ready?
Yeah, I think that one's better.
Yeah.
It's a little green, but we'll take it.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and start this. This is staying open for this show.
All right. Oh, wait. Make sure this is
Be ready to
muted.
check the volume for the green room.
All the way up.
No, we can
Yeah, let's turn that down.
this door.
I'm ready when you guys are. Hello and welcome to tomorrow. We've got so many cool new things happening in this show, but to start off with, Athena, what do you got for us?
Astronomers discovered something massive that they didn't think would exist until now.
Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah.
And Space Mike, what have you got for us today?
Oh man, Rocket Lab has broken ground on a new launch site that is going to be enabling more launches for the United States. Stay tuned to find out where they're opening their new launch site at.
Well, hopefully I get to see one of those in person. And now we've got Jared on the observation lounge. Jared, what do you have for us?
Well, I've got Matt Kaplan, who we are going to be talking to about how the Planetary Society empowers you, the community, to contribute to space exploration.
And then we're going to have questions and comments from you, the community, in our third segment of the show. Stay tuned. This is TMRO.Space, Orbit 11.41.
Good morning. How's everything up in the sky? Stand by.
Thanks for sticking with us. Now, at the start of every show, we always like to focus on the launches of this week. And there was actually quite a few. So, Space Mike, take it away.
All right, well, the first one that happened this week was a Long March 3B rocket launching with a YZ-1 upper stage. This launched from the Xichang Satellite Launch Center in Sichuan, southern China, and it launched at 4:23 Coordinated Universal Time on Monday, October 15th. Its payloads were two more Beidou 3 navigation satellites. This time it was the M for Medium Earth Orbit 15 and M16 satellites. There's over 40 satellites in the Beidou constellation, but now we have launched the 15th and 16th satellites in their medium Earth orbit. It has several different orbits, but all of them are in the same inclination. And I am really excited about this because I might win the dollar bet with Ben. China has been putting off more launches this year than they ever have before, setting new records for themselves, and really makes me wonder how things are going to go. But I'm really looking forward to their lunar launches that are going to be happening later on this year. So congratulations for another Beidou launch. But we got to move along because there was some other awesome rockets. We had an Atlas V rocket launching in the 551 configuration, which means a 5-meter payload pairing, 5 solid rocket boosters, and a single-engine Centaur upper stage. And holy cow, this launched from Space Complex 41 in Cape Canaveral, Florida, and it launched at 4:15 Coordinated Universal Time on Wednesday, October 17th. Its payload was the AEHF number 4, or the 4th Advanced Extremely High Frequency Satellite out of 6 that are planned, that are going to be providing communications for the United States, British, Canadian, and Netherlands armed forces. And it's an extremely high frequency range that has for its uplinks, and its downlinks are in super high frequency range. What that means is it has a large number of narrow spot beams that are directed toward Earth to relay communications to its users, and crosslinks between the satellites allow them to relay communications without the need of a ground station. Man, I wish I had a satellite like that for my own reasons. Holy cow. But one of the launches that I'm probably most excited about this week is an Ariane 5 rocket that launched from the Kourou Space Center in French Guiana from Ariane Launch Area 3 at 1:45 Coordinated Universal Time on Sunday, October 20th, launching Bepi Colombo, humanity's 3rd mission to the planet Mercury. Holy cow. And Bepi Colombo is actually 2 satellites that are launching together. The Mercury Planetary Orbiter, built by the European Space Agency, and MEO, the Mercury Magnetospheric Orbiter, built by JAXA. This mission is going to perform a comprehensive study of Mercury, including its magnetic field, magnetosphere, interior structure, and surface. Oh man, Bepi Colombo also has a service module, the Mercury Transfer Module, which has 4 kinetic T6 ion thrusters that can either operate in pairs or one at a time. It has a combined throttle of 290 millinewtons of thrust, which at the time of this launch, the T6 is going to be the most powerful ion engine ever operated in space. And this mission is going to be awesome. It's going to take 7 years to get to Mercury, but I cannot wait.
Oh, Space Mike killing it with the launch.
That was so
good. Awesome. Oh, man. All right. So we had a bunch of launches this week. Space Mike, you did an awesome summary of all those launches. But why were all of these launches exciting for you?
You know, I really noticed a theme with all of these launches. It really seemed like the theme of it was kind of like the basic concept of engineering, which is improving on what already exists. And each one of these missions kind of had an aspect like that.
What are each of these different missions improving on? So what's the Chinese one improving on? What's the Atlas V launch improving on?
Well, for the Chinese launch, what I'm excited about, even though they're trying to improve their navigation network, is actually the YZ-1 upper stage. I'm really excited about that because they can put up about 2 extra tons of payload into different orbits just with that one upper stage. So that's a big improvement on the rockets that they already have, and we might start seeing some really exotic payloads from China in the future too.
Wow.
But the Atlas V launch, that satellite is extremely powerful. It's so powerful that in order for it to even be used, users on the ground first have to upgrade their receivers. That's how much of an improvement these satellites are over a lot of the old military communication satellites. So I'm really excited about that. But Bepi Colombo is... go ahead.
Oh, we've got a question from the chat room from Strati who asks, is that the new Hydrolux upper stage? I think they're talking about the Chinese one here.
Yes, it's a cryogenic upper stage, and it's really similar, although it has different fuel, it's really similar to like the Fregat or the Breeze upper stages that Russia has, or even the Centaur upper stage. It can be started and restarted multiple times, and it just is extremely efficient. So I'm really happy about that, and that they're at least sharing technical details about that. It's hard to find technical details on a lot of the Long March rockets, but it seems like they're really proud of this Expedition 1 is what it translates to. Expedition 1 upper stage, and want people to know how impressive it actually is.
And you're talking about the Bepi Colombo mission too, right? Is that anything special about that?
Oh man, I mean, it's an extremely advanced satellite. I mean, as I mentioned, it has some of the most powerful ion engines that have ever been operated in space, but the satellites themselves have been designed to operate in the harsh environment of Mercury, building off of the lessons that we learned from the Messenger spacecraft, and it's going to be incredible. I mean, right, they're going to have so many different flybys of both the Earth, Venus, and Mercury itself before it finally enters orbit in around Mercury 7 years later. So I kind of think of it as like 7 years of terror instead of 7 minutes of terror. There might be a little envious of the Curiosity team. I wonder about that.
Yeah, it's all about
man.
waiting to get that satisfaction, right? It's like delayed gratification. Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
So
I mean, it has 20... Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, how does that change the numbers this year for all the different countries and launches?
Oh, man. So China is leading the way. They have 28 launches so far for 2018. With the Atlas V launch, the United States is closely behind at 26 launches. And Europe is now at 6 launches for this year. And it makes me wonder, with all the things going on in there's going to be a couple of Ariane 5 launches and Vega launches through the rest of the year. It makes me wonder if they'll be able to overtake Russia for once. That might actually happen.
Oh, and I wonder who's going to win the bet. Ben and Mike have a bet going. We'll see who the winner is.
Right. Wait, Mike, are you?
Yeah, it's funny because looking at the launches that are on the schedule for the rest of the year, counting up the launches that have been officially announced, USA, if we launch all of the different Falcon 9s and the Delta IV and everything else that we want to launch for the rest of this year, the United States could win. However, China has all of their different surprise launches that we only sometimes get like 24 hours notice about. So I don't know. I mean, I obviously want to win that dollar bet. I bet that China was going to have the most amount of launches this year.
Okay, so you're betting on China. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to. I want to bet with my own country, the United States, but I'm just being realistic.
Playing the odds.
Well, speaking of surprise things that we didn't expect to happen, Athena, astronomers have found something that they weren't expecting.
Such a good segue. Yes, it is a proto-supercluster, and it was in the very early years of our universe. So the reason why it's not expected that this would be found is because it was only about 2 billion years after the Big Bang. So around that time, typically there's a lot of...
just a swamp of particles? Like, what were we expecting 2 billion years ago? What was the theory?
There were galaxies, but as far as like a supercluster of galaxies to this scale, it wasn't predicted. It wasn't expected to really find something that long ago. So with this one, the fact that it's so massive, its name is Hyperion, which is really cool. Oh, this is a really cool simulation of what it actually looks like. So astronomers ended up finding this using the European Southern Observatory's Very Large Telescope. So this is the oldest and the largest galaxy cluster that we even know about today. So it's really, really cool. The thing is, they think that it actually formed through potential dark matter. So that's why I'm really excited about it, because most of the matter in our universe, if you guys don't already know, is dark matter. Going back to last week's show.
Yeah, and if you did miss last week's show, we had Sophia Nazer.
Yeah.
So if you want to go and check that out, 11.40, a really cool talking about dark matter. Why should we should care about something we can't even see?
Yeah. So what's so cool about this is that astronomers believe that what actually caused the accumulation of this is just over time, the gravity would start to pull in all those nearby galaxies and start to form this supercluster. And because of dark matter having such a strong gravity, they believe that dark matter is what actually led to such a formation. So again, this to me is like super cool, because it's all about trying to figure out like what happened in the early universe, what happened when things really first started forming, because then that answers the question of how did we get here and what exactly are we made up of. So this was a really exciting find when I ended up finding this.
We got a question from, well, it's not really a question, but Tickle Stuff in the chat room says, James Webb will likely find a bunch of ancient things with its infrared vision. So do you think James Webb will help us find more of these kind of objects that we didn't think could even exist?
Oh, yeah, I definitely think so, because James Webb's going to be able to look like really like far reach into like the early universe. And because of that, I'm really excited for the finds that are going to come out of that. I think we're going to find a lot more than we wouldn't have expected prior, as far as like really what happened in the early universe to form where we are today, and then potentially I'll start to predict what's going to be the next steps in our evolution on the scale of the universe. What's going to be next? How are we going to expand and form new galaxies? So, and also looking back at the early universe can help us really understand too, like like if you can see how things really started to form, then we might be able to see how things will eventually form. Later on in future projections, exactly. So, yeah. So James Webb, I'm really excited for that. But
I love that, we're looking back into the universe, we're looking back at our past, and by having that grander perspective, that universal perspective, maybe that helps us, treat our own earthly perspective with a different kind of point of reference and point of view.
Yeah.
But speaking of something a little more closer to Earth, Space Mike, we were groundbreaking something a couple of days ago. Tell us what was going on.
Yeah, Rocket Lab has announced and broke ground on their new launch site, Launch Complex 2, that they're building at NASA Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. That's really cool because the only large-scale rocket launching from there is the Antares. They do lots of suborbital launches from there, but holy cow, this just increased my chances of seeing an Electron launch and all of the people who are based here in the United States. I cannot wait to hopefully go see an Electron launch. This is going to be great.
So speaking of when it's going to be ready, do you have a date of when everything's supposed to be done?
So construction is starting almost immediately, and according to Rocket Lab, they're saying that they're going to be, not only is construction going to be complete, but they're going to have their first launch from there in the third quarter of next year, 2019. So that's really quick. I mean, we're technically in the fourth quarter now, right? Yeah, we're in the fourth quarter of this year. So, I mean, in less than a year from now, they'll have that launch site complete and be able to launch from there. And I'm really excited about it because not only is it going to enable more launches from the United States, but for Rocket Lab itself, they're going to be able to have more customers that want to do interesting things. For example, Launch Complex 2 at Wallops Island, it's going to be able to have launches that support inclinations between 38 and 60 degrees. For comparison, their Launch Complex 1 in Mahia, New Zealand, is able to reach orbital inclinations from sun synchronous down to around 39 degrees. So especially if they have customers in the United States who want to launch from the United States instead of sending their payloads to New Zealand, that'll enable more customers to be able to launch from there. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah.
Awesome. Sounds like we all might be able to see some launches pretty soon. I'm getting excited. All these opportunities to watch different rockets launch. I mean, hopefully we get to a point where anyone can go outside maybe once a week and be in a position where they can just look up and see a launch. I mean, I actually recently was at an airport and saw the Falcon 9 launch when I was at LAX.
You were at the airport.
Yeah, it was incredible.
So
I think seeing a launch has a potential to kind of make that change in someone's mind from like, maybe they thought space was cool, but weren't really space fans, and then change it to be like, wow, this is the most amazing thing humanity has ever achieved.
Yeah. Well, because it becomes a tangible thing. Like, I was randomly on the beach and was catching the sunset, and then I was like, oh, yeah, wait, today is the Falcon 9 launch. Oh, my goodness. And then it was just the most incredible thing because you hear everyone who, like, didn't know what was happening was just like, oh, my gosh. And it was so cool to hear a lot of people say that they knew what it was. There's people that were like, oh, that's a rocket. We know what this is. I mean, in LA, I think what happened last December, people knew. But yeah, it becomes a real thing when you actually see it just overhead casually on a beach. Like, it's awesome. So anyway.
Awesome. Thank you both for all your super cool news stories. Before we actually head off into break, there is a special guest we wanted to bring out for you today. So,
I have one more news story.
Oh, yeah, we do have one more news story. I was way too excited talking about launches. So, Athena, tell us what's going on.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. I'm really excited. So I titled this, It's Supernova Time, because supernovae are really awesome. But what's special about this one is it actually formed a binary star system after the supernova occurred. So typically when a supernova happens, you have a really massive star. It's towards the end of its death, and its core will collapse into a neutron star, and then it'll expel the rest of its mass outward and cause that beautiful thing we usually see, which is a supernova. But what's interesting about this, so this here's an image of where it actually occurred. It was in the outskirts of a galaxy that's about 920 million light years from Earth. So this is a spiral galaxy where it occurred. But what's so cool about this is that sometimes a supernova, this one's a type 1 supernova, it can occur also from a nearby companion star that can start to strip material from the actual massive star towards the end of its death, and that can actually lead it to having a supernova, to going via supernova.
Wait,
but
what are the different types of supernovae, and how are they different?
So they're different based on usually the magnitude in which is actually expelled and how astronomers measure these things. So type 1 supernova is one of the most, it's very massive. This one, it actually occurred, again, it was because of a nearby star causing it was stripping apart some of its mass, and it actually caused it to explode. So there's different types. I didn't write all them down, so I can get into that another time. But this one specifically, it was caused, they realized, because of a nearby neutron star that was pulling off some of its material, stripping it, which led it to actually having a relatively like small, faint, and brief supernovae. So when it actually occurred, it was only like 1/5 the mass of our sun. Usually, it's a few times the mass of our sun, like the amount of matter that's actually mass that's expelled during the supernova. But because there was a nearby neutron star, it started to already strip off that mass. So by the time it actually exploded, so this is a really cool artist simulation of kind of what it looked
really
like.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's saying that now that there was a neutron star that's like stripping apart some of the mass, and then it actually led to its core being unstable and then collapsing and then exploding into a supernova. What's cool after this is that when its core collapsed into a neutron star, it became part of a binary system with that initial star that stripped the material off of that dying star.
So there's now like a neutron star and another neutron star.
And
together.
now they're a binary system. So it like got forced into a relationship. It's like so random.
It's like my life.
It's so I was reading that this morning and I'm like
I don't want to be in this relationship. I'm going to explode.
Okay, maybe that's a little too extreme. So I'm like beat red. Keep this image up right now. Don't show us. Okay, sorry guys. So pretty much, anyway, this is just really cool. And the whole reason why everyone should care about this is because gravitational waves are going to form from this, and most likely black holes, and we're going to be able to observe this and figure out, like, exactly how gravitational waves occur and happen in our universe, as well as black holes. So I'm done.
Speaking of supernovae that we might actually be able to see, on YouTube in the chat room, Red Bunny says, I wish Betelgeuse goes supernova in my lifetime so that night turns to day. It might have already happened, but the light hasn't reached us yet. Is there a chance that in our lifetime we'd be able to see, like, a supernova in the sky, like, actually happening?
As far as my understanding, we haven't found like any stars that are expected to go soon, but there may be some that we haven't found yet that might occur. I mean, Betelgeuse, that would be really massive. I mean, like you said, it would light up the entire sky because it's such a massive star. But as far as what I know, I don't know right now, but I can look through a catalog and try to find out for next week.
Awesome. And if you know, let us know in the comments so that we can all learn together about which parts of the sky we should be watching for amazing bright bursts of light.
Yeah, exactly.
But I know I teased you all before with a special guest, and it was a little early, but we now have Haley Lewis, who is part of the Brooke Owens scholarship recipients in the Brooke Owens program. And if you're wondering what that is, Haley, what's Brooke Owens all about?
Hi, so I'm with the Brooke Owens Fellowship Program, and basically it's about connecting undergraduate females who are studying aviation, aerospace, in any interest in those fields, and connecting them with mentorships and paid internship opportunities to get them set up here in the aerospace industry.
Why is it important for us to have a mentorship program for women in aerospace?
I think it's really important to be able to see yourself in the industry you're going into. So we kind of talk a lot about the gender gap that we see in this industry specifically, and this is just another one of those ways that we're kind of helping to correct that and make our own impact there, and encourage all these young girls who maybe aren't sure or are apprehensive about joining this industry, and showing them that there is a way into it and that they can have a really great career.
What kind of companies and mentors are available in the Brooke Owens program?
Oh my gosh. So our concept is to place every single intern with a host company. So last year we had 42 brookies, is what we affectionately call ourselves.
I love that there was 42. That's amazing. Was that on purpose?
No, I think just some of our host companies got really excited about the applications that they saw come in and asked for more.
Oh, wow.
We every single year, there's supposed to be one host company and one intern, and every single year there's one or two host companies that say, no, you have to give us both of these two or three of them. So that's kind of how we've grown. We were 36, now we're 42, and kind of molding that to a more defined number here. But yeah, so the big names, we have SpaceX, Planet Labs, Airline Pilots Association, the museums, the Air and Space Museums. I was an intern at Mojave Air and Spaceport up in Mojave, California.
Wow.
So I had the opportunity to go out there and see how they were operating their spaceport. And then peripherally be involved in some of the companies that are operating out there. So it was a great opportunity for myself to kind of get in there and explore an option that I was looking at, and then take that back, finish up my studies, and then go out into industry with a better idea of what I was looking for.
What was the one greatest takeaway that you had from your time in the program?
Oh my goodness. I think it was to have the community. All of the 2017 Brookies, we still have our little group chats that we talk to each other every single day. There's a whole community of us here in the SoCal area. So we have different events where we'll hang out and hey, let's go to the beach, or hey, let's grab food. And then we're also seeing each other. So we were interns and we were celebrating that and all of our scholastic achievements, and now we're moving into industry and saying hey, you just got a job, or hey, you just accomplished this activity, and we're just celebrating each other, and that being invited into that kind of community is so empowering.
I totally agree.
That sounds so awesome.
I mean, we're all about community here at Tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
It's all about building those networks and building those positive connections. So if we've convinced anyone out there to apply for the Brooke Owens Fellowship, how would they go about that?
Yeah, so we're on social media if you just search Brooke Owens Fellows, or you can go to brookeowensfellowship.org. See here on the screen. We have our application live right now. Applications are due on November 6th. It is a little bit of a lengthy application. Just has some an essay that we ask for, and then we also ask for a multimedia submission. The program is in honor of Brooke Owens. She was an advocate for space and an advocate for humanity. And a lot of time when we see space people, my definition is hi, I'm Haley Lewis and I like satellites. And that's kind of where that ends. Brooke was so much more than this. She did a whole lot of outreach. She went out to Africa and did community service out there. She was a DJ sometimes. She just had so many of these different facets about her. So we ask all of our candidates to submit a multimedia essay or submission to show us a little bit about them, to show us their Brookie spark, basically. So tell us about you, who you are as a person, either in space or in aerospace or any kind of the aerospace industry, in school, and then what are your hobbies, your interests, your passions. We want to know all about it.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Cool. Thank you so much, Haley. And hopefully we should bring a couple more Brookies on the show for the next couple of weeks, all the way up until the deadline.
Yes.
So stick with us here, because there's one more thing we need to do. We need to thank our crowdfunding contributors to the show. This show would not happen without you. So I want to, you know what, let's change things up today. I want to make this personal and real. If we didn't have your crowdfunding support, we would not be able to make this show happen. And specifically for me, we would have never been able to bring up Tomorrow Science. Your contributions directly helped the show. They helped me to be able to have enough time to start researching the guests, spinning up all the content we need for Tomorrow Science, and making it as awesome as possible. We have plans to bring more Tomorrow shows to you, like Tomorrow Tech, Tomorrow Oceans in the future, and also to give you exclusive content with people out at conferences. But to be able to do that, we need the resources and the financial resources to do that as well. So I just want to give you guys a really huge thank you, because you're directly helping us to grow the show and improve and be even better. And if you can't contribute financially, that's okay. You can subscribe. You can hit the like button. No, seriously, go and hit the like button right now. Cool. Awesome. And then you can also share this with your family and friends. Anything you do helps us to grow and helps this change people's lives, just like Tomorrow changed my life. So if you'd like to help, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. All right, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, Jared is going to have an amazing interview with Matt Kaplan of the Planetary Society. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Look into her face, determination in her eyes. She won't give up or quit or fall for little fashion lies. Filled with awesome expectations.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Observation Lounge here at Station 204. I am so excited today because, Matt, as I said on Twitter earlier today, I've heard you do interviews before, but now I get to interview you for once. So here we are.
It's terrifying.
We're here with Matt Kaplan, the host and producer of the Planetary Society's Planetary Radio program. And if you've never listened to it, you really need to listen to it because you guys bring on some incredible guests to talk about incredible things that are happening in space flight, in space science. Basically, if it's in space, you guys talk about it, and that's amazing.
I'm so incredibly fortunate. I mean, I get to combine, I say all the time to people, my two favorite things in life outside of family, space and radio / podcasting. I talk to heroes for a living. It's truly amazing.
Now, you've been doing this for quite a while.
We are coming up on our 16th anniversary.
Yeah.
We're about a month away.
So that's sort of like OG podcasting back in the day.
Well, you know, we were broadcast for a long time. We actually started, since we're coming from Orange County, right here at my old college radio station, KUCI in Irvine. And that was where we got started, and then a few other radio stations heard, and then we were eventually on like 120, 130 stations, which we still are. It's still very much a broadcast show. The podcasting obviously came much later, but now it's such a big part of what we do, and we have so much more freedom with the podcast, as you folks do.
Yeah, and how did you get interested in space? Because did you start in radio with space, or did you kind of move your way into space?
No, you know what? Space came first by a very small margin. I think a lot of it had to do, and I've told the people like Laura Danley at our Griffith Observatory this, that probably the Griffith Observatory probably had a lot to do with it. It wasn't science fiction. I'm one of the few people who got into space before discovering science fiction and started reading space books when I was, 9, 10 years old. And the radio stuff came, my parents bought me a little radio transmitter with a Morse code key, and I never learned anything but SOS. But I could go on the mic and tell my little brothers, because they would do everything I told them to go out in front on the street with their little transistor AM radio, and I could talk to them and pretend to be a DJ. And that was my introduction to radio. And so they kind of grew up together.
So from that moment, you were hooked on both?
Totally.
Just full speed ahead on that.
Absolutely, yeah, no question.
That is amazing. So you do this with the Planetary Society.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the Planetary Society.
I was a member long before I started first volunteering and then working part-time for the Society, and now full-time for many years. And as well as other organizations, great ones, National Space Society. This Planetary Society, though, because of its founders, all of whom were known to me, but one of whom is known to everybody, Carl Sagan.
Yes.
It just spoke to what I thought space could mean to humanity and what it should mean in really bringing us together. As our current boss, who was Carl Sagan's student at Cornell, Bill Nye the Science Guy says, space brings out the best in us. And that's a big part of it. But it was also just the dedication to exploration. I mean, our mission is empowering the world's citizens to advance space science and exploration. And there are other worthy missions and causes in the world, but I cannot imagine one that is better than that. And that thrilled me from the start. And that is what the Society is still all about. I mean, it started with those three founders, Bill, and the one who's still with us, Lou Friedman, our Executive Director Emeritus, still very much involved in space exploration. And they handed the reins over to Bill Nye, and it's still doing what I want them to do.
Yeah, so those three founders that you had Carl Sagan, So probably one of the most well-known science communicators of that time period.
Absolutely.
You also had Bruce C. Murray, the director of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, absolute advocate for getting data to the hands of the public.
Yes.
Not necessarily keeping it with the scientists.
Absolutely. And for cameras on spacecraft.
Yes.
Which incredibly now, you hear this now and you think, how could that have been an uphill battle? But there were so many scientists at the time, early to mid-60s, who said, why do we need a camera? That's not the data we're looking for. Now it's like, duh, you got to have a camera.
Yeah, and of course Louis Friedman as well, who you mentioned,
right?
Which is basically in aeronautical circles, he's the engineer's engineer. I guess is the best way to describe it.
He is like, he wrote the book on solar sailing, which we're going to talk about. Literally wrote the book, and ran the Mars program for JPL for a while, and then moved at the invitation of the other founders into the Planetary Society, was our founding executive director up until, he handed it over to Bill.
And when was it founded?
It was 1980, I think, is what we usually say, so we're coming up on the 40th anniversary. And so we've been around a long time.
Yeah, and it's always been about advocacy.
Absolutely.
At the Planetary Society.
Well, we say three things. We say that we advocate, but we also educate, and we create, with the creation being stuff like light sail, but also the other research that we support in mostly, modest ways around the world, things that fit our mission. And then the advocacy is where we have been just, particularly in the most recent years, incredibly successful. I shouldn't say incredibly. The boss doesn't like that. Wonderfully successful, believably successful in Washington, D.C., where we really have congresspeople pointing to the society for its leadership in making sure that funding is there, not just for planetary science, but for all of space science, which we're very, very proud of. And now, just recently, a few months ago, the creation of the Planetary Science Caucus in Washington, which is both bipartisan, Democrats and Republicans, and bicameral. It's one of the few that has members from the House and from the Senate. And, of course, that's a creation of Congress itself, but with a lot of support from the Planetary Society. And now, you have these people. I mean, when do Democrats and Republicans talk to each other in D.C.? Space is one of the few things that brings them together. Yeah. As the boss said, space brings out the best in us.
Yeah, and it really is one of those things where there is like actual support, even among the public too.
Yes.
Crossing party lines, that everyone really does want to make sure that not necessarily leadership in space is happening, but just that we're moving ahead and we're progressing and getting those technologies out of space.
No question.
Yeah. And that caucus sounds like that's really helpful, because I would imagine that folks in the Senate and the House, not to necessarily speak down upon them because of this, but they probably don't think about this kind of stuff very often with their constituents.
For the most part, that's true, and you still have congresspeople, members of Congress, who question the usefulness of investment in space exploration, space science. But I would say probably fewer than there have been ever before. And the amazing thing is, I have been in the offices of conservative Republican congresspeople and, liberal Democratic congresspeople, and you look at the wall. I'm thinking of one in particular, Texas congressman, who is very much identified and self-identifies as a conservative, and yet on his wall is the Hubble Deep Field. And he totally believes in it. Another Texas congressman, another conservative, who is maybe the most powerful driving force behind the Europa Clipper mission. And not just an orbiter, which Clipper will be, but a lander, where they've written this stuff into legislation. It's mind-boggling. And because these guys and women are true believers.
Yeah, and I remember that happening, hearing about Europa Clipper getting written into law, and that was a huge surprise when that ended up happening, because that mission's been a very long uphill battle politically to get that going. And to kind of go right into the comments that we're getting from people, Henny's Chinese Warwarp on Twitch is asking, what is the Planetary Society's role in pushing space technology forward? Because we'll get back to advocacy in just a little bit, because you guys do a lot of great work with that. But what about the technology? Do you just advocate for certain courses of action, or do you use that caucus to kind of narrow things down? Do you make like your own decadal survey, if you will?
That's good. No, we don't get in the way of the decadal survey, as far as I know. But we do have, in fact, we are totally supportive of the decadal survey process, because it really has proven to be so effective and so productive. So we believe in it like most scientists do. What I smell a little bit there, or I will go in this direction, and because it's a good one to go in, is there are still a lot of people who think that the Planetary Society, those are the guys who only love robots, and we don't believe in humans in space. Not true. It was never true. We absolutely believe that space exploration, deep space exploration, really learning about Mars, as an example, has got to be something that is going to be a collaboration between robots, which of course are driven by humans, and humans. We want to see boots on Mars as much as anybody. And so that's not something that, we just want to see Mars explored. And I think that applies across the solar system and beyond. We are planetary people, so even though I, on the radio show, get to talk about the kind of stuff that Athena talks about, like supernovae and superclusters, we are most about learning about these hard, round things that someday we may find life on, and we all hope that we will find life on. As for specific technologies that we support, well, the one that we have in-house is, again, the one I'm wearing, LightSail. But we do provide support for a number of other interesting technologies, like the one we call Planet Vac, or actually the company making it calls Planet Vac, which is this extremely innovative way to literally suck up regolith from pretty much any place you go in the solar system with one moving part, because it uses gas pressure to do it. You just have a valve. That's one that we've been very supportive of. We have supported new ways to do near-Earth object research. We have our Shoemaker Neo grants, which mostly go to amateurs and sort of lower-end professional astronomers to support the search for near-Earth objects, but also characterizing them, tracking them, so that we can find the one with that has our name on it. And we've also supported research on deflecting that one that has our name on it once we find it, hopefully many years out, giving us some time to make sure that we don't have to go the way of the dinosaurs. Everybody watching this show, knows the cliche. Why did the dinosaurs all die? Because they didn't have a space program. Right.
Yeah. As we like to say up at Griffith, asteroids and comets are nature's way of saying, hey, humans, how's that space program coming along?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
So kind of to talk about the people that work at the Planetary Society, who are some of the people that you have at the Planetary Society right now? Because we talked about Bruce Murray, Louis Friedman, and Carl Sagan, but who's there right now besides yourself?
That's one of the reasons that I feel so fortunate to work there, because it is such an amazing group. The people with the most visibility are the people who do kind of what I do. Certainly Emily Lakdawala.
Yes. Oh, she is awesome.
Isn't she?
She gets data from places I didn't know you could get data, and then chucks it out there, but explains it in a way that you can understand why that data is so important and what it shows.
She is the best.
Her blog is amazing, and her Twitter feed is fascinating, and I can never stop looking at it.
Her official title is senior editor, but of course we know her as the Planetary Evangelist.
Yes.
And I think it's absolutely appropriate, and I recommend to anybody who hasn't seen it, if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of how a spacecraft, a rover, does its job, her book about Curiosity is amazing. We did a live show about it, and I can't remember the title of the book, but if you do Emily Lakdawala on Amazon and Curiosity, it'll pop up. She is truly awesome. Yeah. Jason Davis, our digital editor, who reports on everything, rocketry, but also missions, but is also our embedded reporter in the LightSail project. Terrific writer who's now being quoted and cited all over the world for the great work that he's doing. We have a host of people who contribute to the blog. And that is a growing family of people, and it's wonderful because it allows us to go into areas of expertise that, Jason and Emily probably don't have. Bruce Betts, our chief scientist is his newest title.
Yes, the asteroid hunter.
Exactly, and he is now, he's been my cohort for the What's Up segment of Planetary Radio. He's the only other person who's been on every episode, 835 episodes of the show, with the What's Up segment. And we have great fun with that. But then he does his random space fact stuff and is a great spokesperson as well. And probably does know as much about near-Earth objects and how we're going to deal with them as anybody else. And those are just the visible people. Then there are all the people that are Pasadena office who are behind the scenes and make it happen. Casey Dreyer, our director of space policy, who is a leader of those efforts that I was talking about in D.C., and then other people that we have in D.C. who do that hands-on advocacy work for us. It's an amazing group.
Yeah, and what about you with Planetary Radio? Because that's a big thing as well.
We have fun. I have fun. It's great. I'm so proud to be a part of this spectrum of outreach that the society provides, the blog, the website, the social media, and we fit into that. The part of it that we do, it's kind of what you're doing right now. We are able to have in-depth conversations with the guests that we have on, the hundreds and hundreds of space exploration leaders that have been part of the show. And that's not something that we really get to do in any of the other outreach elements that the society provides, and then the chances that I have to go on location, most recently at the Marshall Space Flight Center, and going up to see the ALMA array and finding out that I can actually stay conscious at 5,000 meters was nice, nice surprise, and the live shows that we do. We're going to do another live show with Caltech on the 26th for the InSight landing. So anybody who's in town, their tickets aren't available yet, but they will be soon from Caltech. And you can find it on the Caltech site or on our site, planetary.org. And we're going to fill Beckman Auditorium with people who want to see the next landing on Mars. And that'll turn into a Planetary Radio episode, which I'm thrilled about.
And that's on the Caltech campus.
Hay fever, sorry.
Don't worry, you're not the only one today. So so that's on the actual Caltech campus out in Pasadena.
Yeah, Beckman, which is the 1,100-seat auditorium there. A year ago, we had a standing room only crowd. It was such an honor. And we had the leaders of the Cassini mission. 3 days or 2 days after it ended the mission with its plunge into the Saturnian atmosphere. And it was, if you ever lose faith in people's belief in the importance of science and the importance of space exploration, this was such a great example of what this means to so many people, because these were people standing and cheering for scientists who had led the exploration of Saturn, this 20-year mission that revealed so much about this entire system, the rings, the moons, the planet. It was absolutely thrilling. It almost brings me to tears.
So I want to kind of talk about becoming a member of the Planetary Society, because you guys are a non-governmental, non-profit group.
We are,
which is amazing to have that in science. Because I don't want to say that's rather unusual, but you don't really find a lot of that, especially in planetary science and space sciences and things like that. So Mini Stoge is actually asking, what would I get out of being a member of the Planetary Society? So if you join, first of all, how do you join, and then what do you get out of joining?
Easy as pie. Planetary.org, and if you really want to get specific, planetary.org/membership. And there are, typically for a nonprofit, right, you've got to have a whole bunch of levels, and each one has its own little space connotation, so it's great fun. But you can get in for, $50, I think, is the current membership level. I'm going to get in trouble with our director of development if I get that wrong. But it's pretty inexpensive. And we do have great benefits for the members. But the major benefit is knowing that you are part of this worldwide movement in support of planetary science, in support of space science. And you're part of this family, which is now, I think, where are we, 60,000? Something like that, members. It's not bad. I mean,
Yeah,
we are definitely the biggest thing going in terms of nonprofits, citizen-driven, humanity-driven advocates for space exploration. And I think that's the biggest benefit. But there are other nice benefits that we have, other things we, give to people when they become members. And I've just encouraged people to check it out because we need as many space geeks as we can get.
Yeah, and we have a very international audience here on Tomorrow, which is so cool that we get to talk to people all over the world. Basically, half of our audience is outside of the United States.
That beats us. Planetary Radio is like 30%, so you beat us.
So if someone is, because we have a lot of people asking in the chat room about if they are outside of the United States, can they still support the Planetary Society?
We are the Planetary Society. We are planet-wide. It's not... Yes, we are still largely focused on things happening in the United States because so much is happening here with NASA and others, commercial space, new space. But we are very interested in what's happening around the world, and that is part of why the Planetary Society came into existence. It happened back in the early 1980s, 1980, when our three founders knew that there were some great things happening, like Voyager, and Viking had just happened. But there wasn't much in the pipeline. And so they wanted to make sure that the public, which we firmly believed even then was solidly behind exploration of space and space science, that there was an organization that could advocate for space. But just as important is that was a difficult time. I mean, remember, this was still the Cold War. We hadn't seen the wall fall or anything like that. And the Planetary Society almost immediately had a very collaborative relationship with space science underway in what was still then the Soviet Union. And we saw that, Carl Sagan saw that, as very much a way to reach across the water and find a way, find something that we had in common as humans around the planet. And that still drives a lot of what we do.
Yeah, and in our, to kind of go with that, in our chat room, Raj Luthra is asking, is the Planetary Society looking to expand to other countries? Or maybe member states, like to the European Space Agency and things.
And in fact, we have. I mean, our global volunteer coordinator, she is a Canadian. She lives now, well, she's just moved. She's in a town outside Gulf, I think it is, near Toronto. She used to live in Montreal. We have coordinators, volunteer coordinators, pretty much all over the world, in the UK, other places around Europe, definitely in Canada, and this is something that we are putting a lot of focus on. So not only can you be a member anywhere in the world, but there are an increasing number of opportunities to get involved as a volunteer, to use materials that we help you with to make presentations about why space science is so important. To get involved in advocacy in your own nation. We're coming on strong in Australia, which, as you folks know, has a brand new space program. It's like Australia didn't have a space program. Yeah, and there are a huge number of space fans there. That's something we're very involved with. And so, I mean, really, if you are from a nation that we don't have a big presence in, sorry, India, because we already do there, but other nations, then we welcome you, because we would love to put you in touch with this coordinator, Kate Howells, and help you get started and help bring other people into our corner of the universe.
Yeah, as you said, planetary with the way you guys operate.
Absolutely,
so, fantastic. Yeah. And Hanny's Robert from Twitch has a great question that I kind of want to throw out there, because we were just talking about outreach and materials and things for that. So does the Planetary Society have like a school outreach or scholarships? And I guess just in general, do you guys do scholarships? And when you guys do outreach, like what kind of goes into that with that?
You know, this is the area where I think we have the most room for expansion. And fortunately, there is sort of a new education division of the society that is working right now. We've already got something in place, and the name is going to escape me. But it's a program working with teachers who are also space enthusiasts, mostly at the K-12 level, who are working toward putting more programs in the schools, more curriculum. It's something we're very excited about. I will admit we haven't done as much as we should be. I mean, my God, we've got the science guy as our CEO. So it's an obvious area for us to move into. And it fits within that educate portion of that triumvirate of create, advocate, educate, although we count planetary radio as part of that as well. We have some very good things coming there, and what I would do is encourage people to keep track of what we're doing at planetary.org, and there will be some great things in the very near term.
Yeah, and one of the things that I definitely do want to talk about today is what's on your shirt, because you talked about in-house development of a super exciting project that a lot of people think is actually sort of like a recent project, but really actually
not so much.
No, you can go all the way back to Carl Sagan in the late 70s, talking about wanting to do solar sailing, and Louis Friedman as well, working with that.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about how you guys came about to make this kind of a project work.
It is, you are absolutely right. It is something that Carl Sagan, Lou Friedman have been excited about for decades. In fact, you can go, I don't know if it's online, it may be, but we have this little room just as you enter the Planetary Society office in Pasadena, and I call it the little light sail shrine. There's a quarter scale model of light sail hanging over your head, and on the wall, among other monitors, is one that is showing a loop of Carl Sagan going on the old Johnny Carson show, the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, with an early model of a solar sail. And talking about it with Johnny Carson, who was a space enthusiast.
Yeah, and we just showed that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we just had it up.
That's terrific.
Just a little screenshot of that. And actually, it is on YouTube. So you can watch that interview on YouTube if you'd like to. So.
Yeah, it's actually amazing to see that, this was getting that kind of exposure that many years ago. Well, it was something the Planetary Society wanted to be part of for many years. We did put together, in collaboration with a group in Russia, what was called Cosmos One. And we're talking more than 10 years ago now. And it was a rather ambitious spacecraft, much, much bigger than what we're doing now. And might have been a terrific spacecraft if it had made it into space. Sadly, we made the mistake, because we were, didn't have much money and we were looking for a deal. We went with these old satellite-launched ICBMs that the Russians were selling off for access to space, and we got a good deal. And so we had a spectacular submarine launch, and it disappeared in the clouds and then came down someplace in the sea, and that was the end of that. So we will never know if Cosmos One might have been years ahead of anything else, the first successful solar sail. Between then and now, of course, the Japanese have had amazing success with,
Icarus.
Icarus, thank you. Icarus, of course. I was going to say Itokawa, which would have been dead wrong. A really innovative solar sail, and was very successful at it. And what a lot of people don't realize is that many spacecraft have to take solar sailing into account as they plan their trajectories. For example, the Messenger spacecraft, which went close to the sun because it went to Mercury, had a big heat shield, and they very much had to take into account the pressure of solar radiation, solar light. But for spacecraft that are actually propelled by light, and a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, oh, it's the solar wind, which are particles, physical particles. No, it's actually the light which drives spacecraft. That's what we're after. And so some years back, we started development under Lou Friedman of LightSail. And we had a successful launch of LightSail 1 as part of an Air Force mission. We were an auxiliary payload. And it was quite successful, but it only went to low Earth orbit. And you can go on our website. In fact, you've got an image up now of a beautiful image of LightSail, fully unfurled sails. Now, what you're looking at there, of course, is many meters across, but it starts out as a 3-unit CubeSat, so 10 by 10 by 30 centimeters. Very tiny, I mean, much smaller in every way than our Cosmos spacecraft. And it worked, but it was too low. There was still too much atmosphere in low Earth orbit for it to really sail on the light of the sun. That's why we're so excited about LightSail 2. And that's the one that, has a nice little spot reserved on the next Falcon Heavy.
Yeah.
Which, there's no telling really when that's going to happen. We're all waiting for it with great excitement, of course. We're told it won't be before November 30th. Starting to look like maybe it'll be beyond that, but, it's up to SpaceX to feel that everything is ready to go. But we will be a secondary payload on that, and it will get us up into medium Earth orbit, more up there in geostationary land. And the idea is to demonstrate that we can, with a citizen-driven project and a tiny spacecraft built at a fraction of what it costs the big space agencies, that we can learn to sail and raise the orbit, and, who knows after that.
So you're actually going to change the trajectory of LightSail 2.
That's the goal.
And are you looking at orbit raising? Are you looking at completely breaking out of Earth orbit?
Well, all the society says is we want to be able to see a raise in altitude, orbit raising. I love to think, I don't know if anybody's listening to me, that we could actually someday, if this thing has the durability, that we could do even more with it. But that is purely me talking. I am not speaking for the society. But right now, we will have met every goal, I believe, if we are able to raise it and control it. And, it's not a small thing to do when you're coming around the Earth and going in and out of the sun every 90 minutes.
Yeah.
To be able to reorient the sail so that, the sun is actually speeding you up and not slowing you down. That's not a trivial effort.
Yeah, and there were a lot of lessons that you guys learned from LightSail 1.
Yes, there sure were, yeah. It was definitely a learning process, and there have been a lot of improvements made since then to LightSail itself. It's still the basic design, but there are so many changes that have been made, I think particularly in software, to make sure, fingers crossed, that this one is going to be as successful as we hope it's going to be.
Yeah, very, very cool. And are there going to be any payloads on LightSail 2?
Not really. It does carry a couple of cameras, and those are, both there to catch views of the Earth, as we did with LightSail 1. But also, it's another way we have of telling that the sail's actually deployed the way that they're supposed to. And, we have that beautiful image of the sail fully deployed with the Earth behind it. Tough thing to do, shiny surface of the Earth below it in the black of space. Strictly speaking, the only other payload is the little DVD that has all the names of our members, which are, going to be tagging along for the ride. So I'm on there, and everybody else who's a member of the society, and a lot of other folks as well.
Excellent. So, so to kind of go to our chat room, because Raj Luthra has a question that I definitely want to ask, which is, will there be a LightSail 3? So I guess if LightSail 2 is successful, are you guys looking at going even bigger, even better, actual payloads and things like that, potentially?
Never say never. It's not currently in the plans. Because with LightSail 2, the Planetary Society will have demonstrated, if it's successful, we will have demonstrated everything that we wanted to demonstrate with a solar sail and provide, we hope, the incentive, the excitement for others to follow in our footsteps and go with this technology. I mean, and NASA is moving in this direction sometime after LightSail 2. You probably know about NEA Scout, Near Earth Asteroid Scout, which is a NASA project between, I think it's Marshall and JPL, to have an interplanetary sail to fly it out to an asteroid and do a rendezvous with an asteroid. And that one's very much moving forward. In fact, Les Johnson, the principal investigator on that project, will be my guest on next week's Planetary Radio.
Excellent. Yeah, that is a fascinating mission, because with that solar sail, they can do a rendezvous with it and fly by, and then change the solar sail, come back, rendezvous again, fly by, and just do continuous, literally orbit it, basically, in proximity.
You don't have to carry fuel, because it's all coming from the sun. Your propulsion is all provided by our home star.
Yeah.
And, between ion engines and solar sailing seem to be really practical ways to get places. I mean, the Dawn mission, still with us, circling Ceres, first to orbit 2 different bodies in the solar system. The only other technology that we know of that is probably should be capable of doing that is sail technology.
Yeah.
Chemical rockets aren't going to cut it.
I was going to say, even Bepi Colombo, which just launched yesterday, that's ion engines.
That's right.
On board of that.
That's
Electric
right.
propulsion.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Stratty's got a question in our chat room. Will the LightSail 2 design be made open source? So you guys going to throw that out there?
You know, that's an excellent question. There is one private company involved with its development, but the society has the rights. That's a really good question, which is worth looking into. I don't remember it ever being asked, but my personal hope would be yes, that we'd be happy to share that technology. I know that there are a couple of things that we have patented. So in those cases, we probably, we'd love to make a little bit more money to advance space science and exploration.
Nothing wrong with that.
But that's one I'll have to throw at the boss or our COO, Jennifer, and find out.
Yeah, and Destructor 1701 on YouTube also has a really cool question that I want to ask, which is, does the Planetary Society have any collaboration with other similar groups like the Mars Society?
Yeah, we do. We've worked very closely with Mars Society. We work very closely with Explore Mars, which is that great organization headed by Chris Carberry out of D.C. We have worked with the National Space Society in the past. In fact, we co-sponsored 2 ISDCs, International Space Development Conferences ago, in Los Angeles. We co-sponsored with the NSS. I'm still a member of the NSS, and will be still very active in some of the things that they have going as well. And have good relationships, I think, with pretty much all the other organizations out there. We all have our specific focuses, but we have an enormous amount of overlap in that big Venn diagram of space exploration.
Excellent. So we do have a technical question from Dutta, who is basically like our technical master here on the show. Dutta is good, Dutta is wise. He's asking, could you turn a solar sail into solar cells? Would capturing the energy from the light reduce the thrust that it provides against the sail?
So, I mean, to focus them maybe on solar panels that are on the spacecraft? Sounds like that might be what he's talking about. I mean, for ours, and I may be completely off base, so I apologize if I am, but it would be difficult to come up with the right parabolic surface right now because they're just made out of thin mylar and they tend to flop around a little bit, even in space somewhat, as you reorient the spacecraft. But what is interesting about that is not so much to generate power to use solar cells, but what the Breakthrough Initiative is doing with Breakthrough Starshot.
With lasers.
Right, with their meter-wide solar sails and the tiny, tiny little spacecraft in the middle. And
ChipSats.
Yeah.
So those are really cool.
Oh, incredible. And we're looking at decades away for having this happen, but Lou Friedman likes to say that the only practical technology to get us to interstellar destinations, Proxima Centauri, within a realistic time frame is a sail. And there are ways of doing this as purely a solar sail, but they involve, running your solar sail a lot closer to the sun than you want to send things in general.
I was going to say.
Exactly.
The closer you get, the more thrust you get.
Yeah, you get
from
quite a
it,
tan as well. But the laser-driven stuff that the Breakthrough Initiative people are pushing, the Breakthrough Starship people are doing, these giant Earth-based or space-based lasers, they make some people nervous, but I think it's thrilling to drive something up to, I think they're talking about 10% of the speed of light.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, what could be more exciting than that? And that's sail technology.
Yeah. And, I was just thinking of Icarus, too, that Japan flew, where they had that really interesting sort of, they had like that flat plastic that they could change the opacity of it.
LCD panels built into the sails. Are we talking innovation or what?
That's amazing. And it could change the direction of thrust and the vector of it. And that was just like, that was some mind-blowing stuff that they were able to
and
do,
kudos to JAXA, the Japanese Space Agency. That was an amazing spacecraft.
And to kind of get our final question in before we ask our final question from Henny's Verwerp on Twitch, which is asking, what is the Planetary Society's goal for space over the next 25 years? What do they think is doable? And I want to add on to that. I want to ask, what do you think is not doable right now that the Planetary Society is going to challenge to make doable?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think of something that is within the realm of possibility that we wouldn't be for. I think we'd be for warp drive if it was a real possibility. But, you know, having interviewed Miguel Alcubierre, and who says it's a bunch of BS, don't believe it's going to happen. And he invented the concept.
Yeah,
I
he
think
did the math. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll pass on warp drive for now, although I have my fingers crossed. Live long and prosper. It's difficult to pick something, but for things that are within the realm of possibility, and which the society is working hard to get NASA, the biggest NASA fans in the world, but we want to see a specific plan for boots on Mars. We want to see a plan. We want to see, prior to putting humans on Mars, we want to see the complete plan for getting samples off of Mars.
Yes.
I mean, the 2020 rover is going to collect those samples, but how are we going to get them off the surface and then back to Earth?
Yes, and it would be nice to do that before humans get to Mars and contaminate Mars.
Very important.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with humans on Mars as long as we get those samples back before the contamination happens.
Yes, and as we all know, the minute, you know, a human sets foot on Mars and starts using poop for fertilizer, it is game over. Although I have recently heard of people who say, since the life on Mars is probably adapted to be well below the surface, as long as we don't mess below the surface, maybe it'd be okay.
Yeah, that's something I never thought about. So.
Yeah, but I think that's, you know, that's the one that's definitely within reach. It's kind of like, you know, controlled fusion, thermonuclear fusion power. It's like the energy source of the future and always will be. It's like putting boots on Mars is always 20 years out.
Yeah.
Well, we want to see that happen. And if it can happen by 2030 or the early 2030s, we are all for it. But we want to see missions to the outer solar system. You know, poor Uranus and Neptune.
Yeah, they've been
ignored.
neglected.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, one spacecraft that has ever gone there.
And it flew past them really quick.
That's right. Yeah. And still told us more about them than we have learned in, I think, in the time since, even with huge telescopes. Space-based telescopes. So that's certainly something we want. And we want to see there's been great progress made by NASA and others regarding near-Earth objects and how we're going to defend ourselves against them. More needs to be done in that area because we don't want to go the way of Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah, and I want to throw one more thing out there that I'm really big on, which is another mission to Venus at some point.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love a surface mission to Venus.
Oh, I think
that would be amazing.
I think a surface mission would be great. A rover on the surface.
Yeah.
Talk about amazing technology. But I think a lot of people propose balloons.
Yeah, that's also good too. You can drop a balloon down and get that sample and then get out of that environment very quickly. So.
Yeah, I think the potential there is tremendous. And the poor Venus scientists who have been out in the wilderness, like the Uranus and Neptune scientists.
I mean, it seems like every New Frontiers and Discovery program, there is multiple Venus proposals in there, and they always just get overlooked.
So you know, a decision has to be made soon between. I think they're New Frontiers missions, and one of them includes Dragonfly, the drone.
The drone on Titan. The nuclear-powered drone on Titan.
We hate the fact that you have to make decisions like this, because we want to see them all
fund them all. Yeah. So, yeah, really, really cool. So, before we let you go, officially, we want to ask one final question. And we ask everybody this question. It is an open-ended answer. It is whatever answer you would like to give us about it. No right or wrong answers. Just however you feel about it.
Okay, I'm getting nervous, although I know the question. Go ahead.
So the question, it's a very simple one. Why space?
Why space? There are 30 great answers to that question. Because you could say we have always been that species that wants to know what's just over that next hill. Because we have always found eventual benefit from even exploration in those regions and those disciplines that have seemed the least promising. We have always found ways to benefit humankind because it inspires all of humanity, and especially young people, because it results in technologies like the one I have in my pocket that's making a little rectangular space in my pocket right now, that help all of humanity become better at what they do and more productive, and all the other goals that we have simply as humans here on this planet. And also because it provides simply so much personal inspiration for me that, ever since I made those first trips to the Griffith Observatory, my enthusiasm has not slackened at all since then. And anybody who's made it this far watching this show today knows that feeling and knows that the most important thing that we can do as a species is continue to be the explorers that we are.
Excellent.
As we take care of each other.
Yes, very important. If people want to know more information about you and the Planetary Society, where should they go?
Planetary.org. It's easy. Yeah.
There you go. Easy to remember. Matt Kaplan, host and producer of Planetary Radio and a great member of the Planetary Society. Thank you so much for coming on Tomorrow Today. Now, before we go, I do want to thank those of you who helped crowdfund this show. Our Escape Velocity citizens, you give us $10 or more per episode. You get some really cool stuff, like you get to see us talking in our Escape Velocity channel in Discord, and you really got to see a lot of funny photos this week after we all went to see First Man together. And then we have our Orbital citizens as well. You give us $5 an episode or more. And as Lisa said before, you are the folks that make this show happen. Much like the members of the Planetary Society who help enable what the Planetary Society can do. We can't do this show without you. And we can't get these incredible stories out for people to hear, to learn, to get inspired by without your direct contributions helping us out. And you don't have to contribute via Patreon to do that. We always appreciate it if you go to patreon.com/TMRO and contribute financially. But you don't have to contribute financially. If you've got time that you can contribute, if you've got smarts that you can contribute, if you've got enthusiasm that you can contribute, we will take that and we will run with that and we will do whatever you will allow us to do with that. So if you'd like to get in touch with us somehow, one of the best ways to do that is to go to community.tmro.tv. We talk all the time about what you can do to help us out there. Start a new topic there saying how you want to help us out and other things like that. And just help out the show as much as you can.
Can I just add, nobody else out there is doing what TMRO does in the area of space exploration. I know that you guys are doing other stuff with general science. But really, for doing with video what the Planetary Society is trying to do in other ways, there's just nobody who touches what TMRO does, and bringing this kind of enthusiasm and information to the space geeks around the world.
Well, as we say, we're just trying to get everybody excited about space.
That's all.
So, yeah, it's pretty good. So, so we're going to head on to a break. And when we come back from our break, we're going to have our comments from last week's show. So stay tuned. There's more tomorrow right after this.
Always look to the stars. They guide us, give us comfort, help us find our way. We see ourselves out there. When we look up, it inspires us. And we long for something we don't yet know. We yearn to go there. So, we venture forth.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The exploration of space will go ahead, whether we join in it or not.
Many think we stopped exploring. But we know our journey didn't end. We've only just begun.
Orion is functioning perfectly at this point.
Come with us and explore tomorrow.
And thanks for sticking around. Now we want to get into the community questions, comments, and suggestions from the past week. And just in case you did miss our show last week, we had Sophia Nazer, Astro Party Girl on Twitter, talking about dark matter. And that was a really, really super cool, in-depth interview that Athena was able to provide for us last week. But let's get into all of your really, really, really cool suggestions and questions. So our first comment comes from our community forums at community.tmro.tv.
There you go.
And just like Jared mentioned before, it's honestly one of the best ways to get in contact with us.
Yes.
So this comment comes from Sean Devine, and they ask, is there anyone that has a plan for a dedicated orbital shipyard? Bigelow and Orbital Assembly, and actually a lot of other companies as well, have plans for a station, but they're all for people, not for a dedicated shipyard to my knowledge.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's actually looking at on-orbit assembly of things just yet. I know there's a lot of people who talk about it, and how, I don't mean that.
I have a very complex plan.
Yeah. What's your plan, Mike?
For just $1,000 a month, you can help me create the first orbital shipyard. Yeah, let's do it.
First orbital shipyard, and potentially a better microphone for Space Mike, because somehow your audio went off funny.
Let's start there. Let's start there.
I do know, if you really want to follow someone who talks a lot about on-orbit assembly, Dennis Wingo, who we've had as a guest on our show, you can follow his Twitter, WingoD, and he talks all the time about like what it would take to build space telescopes in space, so you can have them even bigger than what you would have here on Earth. I'm talking like even bigger than what a BFR would be able to carry. That's like the kind of stuff he's thinking about right now. Super cool stuff if you ever want to look into that. But right now,
we'll do that.
No company at least is looking into it, but individuals are definitely looking at as best as they can to try to make it happen.
What would an orbital shipyard look like? Like, what do you envision it? What's its purpose?
I mean, wouldn't it be for the purpose of like parking in space? That's kind of what I imagined it as you know, like it's like a parking lot, but it's in space. Am I wrong, or would it be totally different? That's how I'm envisioning it. I'm actually not too familiar what it is.
I think that's probably more about building ships than parking ships.
So would there be like EV parking and RP1 parking? You can like hook into the.
Actually, yes. I imagine that like in an actual orbital shipyard, like in space, would be like a combination. It'd be like a smaller version of the International Space Station. Like you want to have habitation modules for the people who are going to work on the stuff to be there and things like that. Maybe you want another module. You can do a little science while you're up there, or something like material science or something.
Okay.
And then you'll have like a truss, like a really big truss area, where that's where the assembly happens at. And then I would imagine that you also want to have a propellant depot there as well, so that way you can basically fuel up the ship at that time and send it out.
So could I also go there if I need repairs on my spaceship, kind of like a car
Why
repair?
not?
Okay.
Why not?
So like there'll be like on-hand mechanics that are there waiting for me in space if, you know, I don't know, something goes wrong with my spaceship. Refueling for coffee or something. Okay. I like this.
Mike.
Ooh. Okay, Mike, do it.
What's your orbital shipyard?
I would imagine that orbital shipyards wouldn't be necessary until we have cyclers. But then again, we have companies like Made in Space and NanoRacks collaborating on building satellites in space. So I guess that's the start of an orbital shipyard. But what I imagine is this giant facility that, yes, would have small amounts of habitation and propellant depot, kind of your one-stop shop for everything, have robots and worker bees that could be able to repair your spacecraft. But what would be building and coming to and from this shipyard would be cyclers, vehicles that would be taking humans and robots and equipment to and from the moon, Mars, and anywhere else we want to go in the solar system, but never actually land on the surface of any of those destinations. It's only an in-space vehicle only. So that's what I imagine.
Cool. Carrie Ann actually raises a good point in the chat room. By that measure, does the ISS not count at that point? And I think the kind of visions that Athena and Jared, a little bit what you described, are like the ISS. But what you just talked about, Mike, I think is completely different to what we have at the ISS. If it's a dedicated orbital shipyard for cyclers, I think it's completely different.
It's like expanding off of the ISS. Which is
ISS
right?
2.0.
I feel like at the end of its life, the ISS should be a place that on-orbit assembly is happening.
Starts there and then.
I mean, if it gets, especially if it gets handed over to a commercial entity, then that should if you want to be a commercial entity and grab the ISS, you should have plans for on-orbit assembly. So
I like that. Someone said the Jetsons. Look nice.
Yeah.
The Jetsons.
Very cool.
Yeah, we need to model the future after them.
There we go.
Yes.
Cool. So moving on to our next really, really cool comment, again from the community forums. I keep saying it, guys. Go and check it out, community.tmro.tv.
Lots of good stuff in there.
This one comes off of Darren Paulson, who's also a ground support citizen, by the way. Thank you, Darren. And this is a thread on the community forums where people post pictures of models and things that they're building and things that they're creating and using that as a platform to share their creativity with the rest of the community. So they say, been working on this guy for the last few years, do events and charity stuff with him, very rewarding, constantly being tweaked and improved, just working on a smoke generator for him. So we actually have an image of their creation. It's really, really cool. And they built an R2D2. It's so cool.
Wow.
Oh, I want one.
I want one too. We need one for Station 204. That is so.
Birthday's coming up. All
I
right.
want one.
Wow.
We need a tomorrow anniversary present for
smokes.
us. That's.
So this is the stuff that our community is capable of building.
Wait, what's it going to do? It's a smoke generator.
No, it's going to have smoke coming out of it.
Working on a smoke generator for it.
But he takes it to events and charity events and stuff like that. So
that's so cool.
Really cool.
That's amazing.
That's
I
nice.
want one that'll just like go across like here.
Are you guys working on
One
building?
that actually has the electrode on it, so that one of his arms will come out and shock us anytime that we're pug locked.
That's great.
Oh boy, I better prepare.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, I'll
It
calm
needs
down.
a glitter gun.
Serious.
Oh no. Here
Yes.
we go.
Ah, no.
Yes. Well, you gotta implement all aspects of it. All right. Okay.
I'm liking these things.
Dada actually says that Kitty and I had R2 at our wedding.
Oh, I remember that
Nice.
image. Yeah, I
Also,
remember that picture.
Tickle stuff too. R2D2 serves margaritas. So, which we could turn our Soma bar
idea.
into an R2D2. Because it's going to take us just as long to get an R2D or to build an R2D2 as it is to get our Soma bar.
Yeah.
That's great.
So.
Okay, cool. I'll start bringing some alcohol and let's.
We're going to save that for after dark.
Yeah.
This is a G-rated show.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Most of the time.
Our next comment comes off of Mark Wilson from YouTube. Let me get this straight. A Soyuz rocket failed. Hubble went into safe mode. Chandra went into safe mode. Curiosity stopped transmitting. Opportunity has gone completely dark. James Webb is delayed. Crew Dragon is delayed. CST-100 Starliner is delayed. And First Man failed at the box office. I disagree with the tone of this comment because I feel like there's
a lot that happened this year. I mean, hello, Falcon Heavy, that was huge. And not only was it exciting for space nerds, it was exciting for everyone. I mean, literally every single person stopped, watched it, saw Starman in the news. I mean, that was massive. I think that was the big step forward for humanity in space exploration. And then China doing spooky action at a distance, from space to Earth. Quantum entanglement.
Smokes.
I mean, are you kidding me? Talk about like potential quantum space internet plans. Like, that was massive. There's so many other things that happened this year too. I know Hidden Figures was December 25th, but like, just before the New Year started, and that was a huge hit. That was if we're going to go into, talk about movies. But I mean, I think First Man was great also, if we want to talk about that. But
Space Mike,
there's so many
are there
things.
moments of this year that stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, we've landed on an asteroid a couple of times now. Congratulations, JAXA, with Hayabusa 2 and the small rovers and even Mascot. Like, holy crap, that's a big deal. But I mean, aside from that, we had, of course, the Electron rocket that had its first business actual, full up launched earlier this year, and hopefully we'll get one or two more before the end of the year. And Falcon 9 Block 5 was introduced and has already been reused. I mean, there have been a lot of updates. I mean, Blue Origin has a much larger employment base, and I'm almost convinced, just because of my own suspicions, that they're like this close to having the new Gwen ready.
So close, so close.
Yeah, So much has happened just this year already, and there's a lot of stuff that's still planned.
Totally.
Yeah.
Jared, do you have a standout moment?
Yes, I have a multitude of standout moments. TESS was launched, the Trans-City Exoplanet Survey Satellite, and we're getting scientific data back from it.
Yeah.
OSIRIS-REx is on approach to asteroid Bennu, and it's going to arrive by the end of the year. Gosh, Parker Solar Probe was launched, one of the fastest thing ever to go study the sun's outer atmosphere directly while it's there. InSight was launched. It's going to land in just about a month. In addition to that, there were CubeSats, not just CubeSats, interplanetary CubeSats launched for the first time ever. Oh my God! Like, this has not been a bad year. This has been a great
Such a
year.
good year.
Bad things happen.
Chat room agrees.
Bad things happen, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's been a bad year for spaceflight. I mean, we've had launches out the wazoo this year.
Yeah.
And there's something on its way to Mercury that just went off yesterday that we know so little about Mercury. This is what the heck, man? This is not a bad year. Space is hard. It's difficult.
Agrees. Johnny Cheese from YouTube says, Parker Solar Probe. Stratty says, first nuclear reactor designed for space since the 1970s got tested this year.
Yes.
Chris Mara, Curiosity is working fine though, it had a backup. Jim Meeker on YouTube. Dream Tracer is still on its way to supply the ISS, isn't it? Dream Tracer is still on its way. It's still getting developed.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Just because a couple of things go wrong doesn't mean that it's all gone bad. Space is really difficult. It's really hard. If you're not willing to understand that space is very hard and very difficult, and sometimes that forward progress is going to get stopped. If you don't have the wherewithal to contend with that, don't get involved with space.
Exactly. Well said. That was so good.
It's hard.
I think you deserve to wear the crown.
You do. One other amazing thing that happened this year, Johnny Cheese on YouTube. Let's not forget about Artists Around the Moon. Like this year.
Yes.
Artists. Oh yes.
Dear Moon was announced.
Dear
Holy
Moon.
smokes. Yeah. So.
Yep.
All right.
So many good things.
Also, somebody's going to learn how to use a drill correctly.
Yeah. Oh, that one. I almost
Did
feel
I
like
get
the other tiara
for the episode?
because the other tiara has a logo which goes with your mohawk.
Oh, this is
well, actually, that one looks great.
Did I win this for the episode? Is that how this is going? Oh,
right. That like
never mind.
actually
Hold
goes
on.
with the mohawk.
Wow. Okay, there we go.
All
Now,
hail His Royal
so
Majesty
symmetrical.
Jared Head,
This is
Princess of the Tomorrow Empire.
I think if I had to sum that up, we would say that, these bad things happen, but there are all these good things happening this year too, and now we have a Jared wearing the crown of
so
by the way, I just want to say the Soyuz failure was not a failure in my eyes because the abort system worked perfectly, which tells me that system is robust, and anytime an astronaut walks away from a problem, literally walks away from a problem, that's a success in my book. So I don't care what anybody says. Sure, the rocket blew up, but the astronauts didn't. They came home, and they're going to go to space again.
Exactly.
And that's the way we do it.
Exactly.
And speaking, go ahead, Mike.
Oh no, I'm just reaffirming what you said. If that launch had been fatal, we'd be having a much different conversation right now.
Totally agree.
Very different.
Speaking of First Man and box office, the family of tomorrow went to go and see First Man. But if you would like to see images of it, you're going to have to stick around for After Dark.
Yes.
Before we head off for today, we do want to give another huge thank you to all of our supporters. Again, I'm going to make this real. Our citizen supporters, our citizens of tomorrow, help to make us do amazing things. And from a personal perspective, without your support, I wouldn't have been able to move over here to America and start working on the show and work my butt off to get the kind of caliber of guests that we've been getting this year. You guys are directly making that happen. And if we continue to build our level of crowdfunding support, there might even be a time where I'll be able to work on tomorrow full-time and get all of these shows having the most amazing guests and revolutionizing my life, because I would love to only work on tomorrow. That's my dream.
That would be nice.
You guys can make that happen. We're just going to continue to grow and grow with the amount of resources and support that we can get from you guys. You're changing lives. You're helping us to inspire more people, and we're going to do that together as a community. Again, if you can't contribute financially, you can always help us out by hitting the like button, subscribing, and sharing with your family and friends. Because maybe sharing is important, right? Maybe if you can't support, maybe you share it with someone who we managed to inspire to maybe go even work in the space industry and help humans and help us as a community move towards a better tomorrow. On that note, if you'd like to help, head over to patreon.com/TMRO. Next week, we do not have a guest scheduled yet, but as soon as we know, we'll let you find out on all of our social media. We'll make an announcement. And until next time, After Dark is up next, and we'll see you next week. Bye. You have to do it in the microphone.
I can't even make sound.
The microphone probably hears it. That's so weird.
That's like, that was uncomfortable. So, you know what's also uncomfortable? This tiara. Good Lord. My head is too big for this thing.
Oh, it's great.
Ow!
Oh, I left a mark.
Yes.
That's funny.
There, that's yours.
Can I wear it? Can I wear it?
This
Can I
is
wear
a
it? Oh,
much
okay.
more comfortable tiara.
I want a tiara too. Can we all have tiaras?
Can you crown it?
Mm.
Crown it, like, you da, 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 da.
Is this what we clap?
Wow.
That is great.
Hello, Majesty, Constantine of the Tomorrow Empire.
I feel great right now.
I'm
This
so
is
pretty.
awesome. This is, oh wait, yeah, we're gonna start taking selfies. Let me get my iPad up.
Oh
I'm
my
just
goodness.
gonna like, kind of feel like a tourist right now.
Such millennials.
Wait, where's the selfie part? There it is.
I feel amazing. So, I feel so beautiful.
Sorry to
get a
derail
picture
the
with all
show
you
in
guys.
news. I did not mean to make us all pug lock. Bye, Kitty.
It's okay. Bye, Kitty. I'll see you later.
Sorry.
I don't remember what I
partially my fault too.
I don't remember what I said, but we all started
man.
laughing.
Wait, what?
Dina was all
good.
just like, this is almost like a forced relationship, and I'm just like,
Great
I don't want to
show.
be in this relationship.
Am I
I'm on
muted for
phone.
If you want to stick
Do you
around,
want to stay for After Dark?
after dark, we just kind of like hang out and chat with our folks who stick around and watch us.
Once, yeah.
If you want to, you're welcome to, but you're not required to. If you gotta go, you gotta go.
I probably should take off.
Okay,
Because my
that's good.
Thank you,
my-
man.
I'll help you
My
with
Yes,
the
mother's
microphone
in
there.
there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
Give a
on
big
tonight.
hug.
was blessed. That
Thank
was
you.
really
And I'll-
It
great
was
job.
such a blast.
Right?
Yeah.
Here.
Excuse us just for 1 second while we
Walked
farewell
right in
our
front of the
guests.
camera.
You have a space mic here.
In the meantime,
It's
look
now
at
the
the
Space
shirt.
Mike show. Dude.
everyone
Oh, actually, Space Mike, you can drop a beat and start rapping.
Oh, that's so cool.
Ready, go.
Got my my SpaceX shirt right here, and let's see, dropping a beat. Let's see. Oh man, let me tell you about the crew
That's
tomorrow.
so cool.
Again, as always, right.
You're so tall. I was like, are you wearing
flats.
heels? You're not even
So
wearing
tall.
heels.
No,
Oh, man.
wearing flats.
I cannot judge.
Oh yeah, sign. Okay,
Oh,
wait.
yeah, sign the
As he
set.
signs, I'm gonna sit back down. Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited to show some of the stuff.
Staticky. There we go. What?
I'm excited to show the pictures that were put together after us watching
yeah.
First
Some
Man. It was really
great
cool because I was still here in the mythical land of Arizona, but we timed it so that we would all be watching the movie at the same time. And, took pictures, not of the movie. We weren't pirating the movie, but just, taking selfies of ourselves afterwards. You guys were terrific. And to Wicked,
It was so good to see you.
Thank you
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Yes, see you soon.
Anomaly, what do I think about the Roscosmos sabotage rumors? I think they're just that, rumors. What I think happens, at least if you're talking about the hole in the
Wait, Mike, who are you talking
MS-09.
to?
Anomaly in the chat room. He
Where's
asked
the
what I think
reload
about
rundown thing?
I think that, honestly, what I think happened is that there was probably some low-level engineer, assembly guy at the pad who was supposed to have done something, but probably went a little too far or drilled in the wrong spot or something like that, and was just like, oh, crap, and, put that glue that we know came out in. And so I'm pretty sure it was that. I mean, the idea that Rogozin has put out there, that one of the astronauts at the space station drilled that hole, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. These people have trained for years and have spent years of their life focusing on that one goal of being able to fly into space and doing an incredible amount of training.
Space Mike, I have the
if
photos
they
now. I had to.
didn't want to go, they would have backed out. They would have backed out. You got the photos now? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
ready?
Anyway, I hope that answers your question. Boom!
You're welcome, Internet. I had to remember how to run the board here.
Isn't that amazing? But I'm not actually
wait.
there,
There's a
but
better one. There's a better one. Ready?
Totally a sign. That's totally a sign I would have. Notice Ben wheeling around the hologram TV, having his external power cord.
Well, there was a few more, but those are the only two I had time to make before the show. So thanks, Don't Less in the Discord channel for that.
That's such a cool photo.
Did you want a picture?
Oh man, that was cool.
So how that photo happened, right? So I lost everyone because I went to the bathroom, and then I came back, and everyone was standing here, and we were trying to get a photo.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, photo time.
Sure.
Are we gonna like move the chairs?
Stay. It's okay.
But we need you to be on our level. So either we all
Wait,
stand
does
or we
that
all
mean I
sit.
need a box to
Or
stand on?
Should we get an apple box?
Okay,
Yeah.
where are we going? Oh,
I think Matt should go like right
Stay
there.
in the shot. Stay.
That's what I'm doing. I just
Go
need
here,
to make sure I
Lisa.
don't cover up Mike.
Oh, Mike in the
I'll move it
shot.
just to you. You're
I can't hear you, Mike. But you went. How was Jordan?
Amazing. It was so amazing.
Amazing.
can't
It was
hear
so amazing.
Thank you. Athena's translating for you.
Here we go. Ready?
Yay!
Everybody say planetary.
Planetary!
Thank you.
Yay! Awesome.
Excellent.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you so much.
See you next time. Bye. Thank you.
So, yeah, see you at our place.
This is my first
Yes.
digital.
Yeah, let's do
For
it.
sure.
I actually gave a talk there a couple years ago.
At our office?
Yeah.
At the new office?
Yes.
Good.
In Pasadena.
So I
So.
was going to say, if you've been at the one on Grand, you really ought to go.
That was my first digital remote group photo.
They're fun, aren't they, Space Mike? I did one, the very first episode of Science. No, the practice, Science Discovery 1.00. We took a practice photo when I was still in New Zealand, like streaming from my bedroom.
I see, yeah.
And then like you and Jay were on either side of the screen, and like you got a selfie in it. I didn't look exactly in the right spot, but it was really cool.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like this photo a lot. So we ended up like we wanted to get a photo, but there was no one nearby, so we were trying to take a group selfie, but my arm isn't long enough. And so I went and put my phone down on timer, and then someone walked by, but the timer was already going. So we got the photo, and then someone walked by with their popcorn. It was nice enough to take a photo of us, and that was the other photo.
But then Athena, like as they were walking away, Athena was like, "Do you want me to take a photo of you and your popcorn?" Like,
and I was like kind of sad. She didn't want to get a photo with her popcorn. I was like, it was like you know. I don't know. I guess, you know, when I'm out at the movies and I'm with my popcorn, I ask people to take a photo. Oh, what is that?
I poured some goldfish, and then I put almonds on top of them, and then I think these are pistachios.
Pistachios.
So
I'll
goldfish,
test it for
almonds,
you.
pistachios. Yeah,
We
could
got
you
some
test this for me?
pistachios.
oh,
Test it? Why?
wait, I don't want to make eating sounds to the
Nom,
internet.
nom, 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 nom.
Yeah, that's my job.
Wait,
So-
okay, so it's totally okay. I tested it.
You
And
might want to
you
mute
won't
me,
die.
Dada. Thank you.
Shall we talk about our thoughts about First Man? Shall we give our review?
Yes, go.
Just are you gonna spoil it?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah, no
no
spoilers.
spoiling.
Hashtag no spoilers.
I'm glad you said that, Dada. I didn't think about that.
I mean, I know that our community is avid space fans, but I'm sure there are
Right.
a lot of people that just haven't yet had
Well,
time to see it.
Anomaly says,
Spoiler alert, they land on the moon.
Anomaly says, what is your review
This
of the
moon.
movie out of 10?
This is definitely a moon.
So,
Okay.
that's no moon. I would give it
What does it say?
5 out of 10.
What
I
is the
actually was
movie
not a
review?
giant fan of the movie.
Dang.
I saw it twice, and I'm going to see it a third time. And the thing is, I felt like at first I was excited for a lot of action, but because there was more depth psychologically, the first time I felt like I had a lower review. The second time I felt more into it, and then there was things I noticed I didn't notice the first time I
Maybe
saw it.
I need to go and see it again.
Yeah, and then it made so much more sense. So my friends I brought that aren't too familiar with the Gemini program and like space stuff, they felt more confused and was just excited for a lot of jam-packed stuff, but a lot of them felt very moved just by like understanding what happens psychologically to people for space travel without spoiling anything. That's it. All I'm saying. But yeah, I actually liked it a lot because it had a different approach than most space movies do, which are usually very action-packed, space, which is awesome.
I like
But
that
this was
aspect.
like, hey, like this is what really happens, like to a person, on top of also being a human being with a life. on Earth.
Yes.
So it was, yeah. But I liked it a lot. I actually thought it was really, really cool, and it was well developed, which was great. So I'm going to go grab some snacks.
Okay.
and put some on the table, because that moon table is everything. I love these little tables.
Prismara asks, can you really say spoilers for a based on actual events movie? Yes. Because I went into that movie expecting something completely different of what they actually did, including events that I didn't actually know happened. And I suppose if I had read the Wikipedia article on Neil Armstrong, maybe I would have realized these events. But I didn't, and it hit me in the feels way too hard in a different direction than I intended. I was ready to feel feels for landing on the moon, whatever blah challenges.
America,
but
yeah.
I was not ready for and I maybe cried a couple times in the movie. No one saw, but it's fine. Yeah. No spoilers.
I cried too.
But yeah.
For me, it was the movie I was expecting it to be, because I knew it was going to be about Armstrong, and I knew it was going to be focused about Armstrong. Because actually, one of our Tomorrow viewers was kind enough to send his copy of First Man to me, and I had read it before the movie.
It's based off a book?
Yes, it's his official biography.
Right, maybe that's why.
So,
Oops, it's my bad.
To me, I knew going in the time period that it was going to be covering was a tumultuous time period for Armstrong and the Armstrong family. So I knew that it was going to be really tough to watch that.
They're bats.
Because Halloween.
Nice. So to me,
and ghosts.
To me, it hit all the things that it needed to. It showed Armstrong as who he was. He was an engineer's engineer. He was the astronaut's astronaut. He was a very serious man. He understood what was behind him. He understood what was in the present, and he understood what was in front of him. Mm-hmm. And he knew that he had to put in the work to make all three of those goals happen. And he was very motivated, too, by those things that happened early on in the story of the movie, I guess. So,
Thank you. I think it was light on his wit, though.
Yeah, he was a very witty guy, but I feel like if they had portrayed him as being as witty as he was, that might have given mixed signals to the people there. Because if you look at some of the interviews that he did, and the way that Gosling talked in the reproduction of those interviews, he was pretty dang close. Armstrong was like a no BS kind of guy. He didn't care where the BS was coming from. He wasn't having any of it. And he was not afraid to come up and basically blow it off when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you not?
Yeah. I think what I appreciate the most about First Man is that at no point did it attempt to romanticize anything.
That's what I appreciated
It
about
showed,
most. Yeah.
it showed flying an X-15 as probably the last thing you ever want to do in your life. It showed the Gemini spacecraft as a claustrophobic vehicle, because it was. Because basically you had a seat in the same amount of room as you have in a car in the front seats with someone else there and all your gear. And it did not pull punches in showing how difficult it was and the sacrifice and the work that you have to put in when you're on the bleeding edge. And it also showed that sometimes you push a little too hard, you get a little too arrogant, and you learn where the edge is, and you learn it very painfully. So
good point, Tars.
And a lot of people are not going to like it for that, and that's their problem. And as Tars is saying, I don't know if I want to say that on air or not, but Tars is correct. Having been around Buzz quite often, Tars is correct. So.
Yeah.
I love it. They're so cute.
Something that I really loved about the movie is that all of the hardware looked historically accurate. Everything looked amazing. And I really appreciated how when they did the actual landing, how they intermixed the radio recordings from the actual mission and Gosling's voice. So I thought that was really cool that they did that. The thing that I didn't like about it, well, I guess I can't even really say this because I guess it's a spoiler. But
don't say it. Wait, sorry, I'm a big spoiler,
There's one cool thing
anti-spoiler person.
with the Apollo module that they used, on like the trip to the moon and whatnot. It's the same set prop as they used in the Apollo 13 movie, so that's why it looks so real, which I thought was really cool.
I think Dutta and I both had the same. I
had a big issue with the press conference.
Is that
a big issue with the press conference?
I liked that scene because there was the whole point is showing what they go through.
But do you remember what Buzz and what Buzz and Neil said in the real press conference?
Jared.
It was reversed. It was Neil who was saying those inspiring things.
What? Really?
Yeah. So I was disappointed that it made Neil out to be this really depressed guy who was just kind of waiting for it over with. Like he was the one being like, "This is the most important thing in human history," and I feel like it didn't really portray him like that in this movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring up what Dutta and I had really big gripe on during the movie, which is that the interior of the X-15, the Gemini, and the Apollo spacecraft, and the lander and everything like that, they look like garbage.
Really?
They literally they made it look like somebody just stringed that all together and things like that. And they didn't actually look that dirty and things like that. Also, another thing that we had a problem with was the use of models. So we were not a big fan, especially the Saturn V launch sequence. Jesus Christ.
There's a number of scenes in the film for which I know for a fact there exists HD scans of original film.
Huh.
And they replicated those scenes with shitty models.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
Rather than just using the actual footage.
Because whatever Instagram filter they shot the film through, they could absolutely put that over the HD content that already exists, and it would have a more realistic look and feel than looking at a shitty model of stage separation and absolutely Vandenberg tracking of a Saturn V launching.
Vandenberg tracking, excellent.
But Valencia is the best filter on Instagram. I don't get it.
I thought
they did a great job with that filter.
I also could have done without this.
Oh, what was up with all that? Okay, sorry. I don't want to be so, I'm trying not to be, a critic or anything like that.
Maybe
but
they were
bothered
trying,
me.
I felt like maybe they were trying to, make it more intimate.
like it
or
was.
maybe they were, making a statement on some
Most of it was shot with a steady
instability,
cam.
but it was just, it was so shaky cam with everything. It was just but one of the things that also Dutta and I expressed an appreciation for was the sound design in the movie.
Okay.
Because... Dutta, I don't know if you want to take this one.
The sound design was absolutely amazing.
Also,
every beast that he was in the middle of was breathing.
Yes.
And I've never.
No, it was wrong. That's not how sound works in space.
There are certain
also,
points where you're right.
But all the amazing things that everyone's like, oh, that was awesome.
The X-15.
To figure out what to stand.
No,
Mike, I'm pushing you this way.
The things I took gripe with were how the vehicle. I want to get Buzz on.
And then I can go here. Yeah, cool.
Because I don't believe that's what any of those vehicles would have sounded like on the way up. Like this weird whirring noise as if the vehicle's about to break itself apart on the way up. Shenanigans on that. When you're in space, yeah, it's true. There's no sound in space. There's no air for the sound to transfer through. But if you're standing on something or you're in a spacesuit, you're going to hear all of the things, all that vibration. Yeah, absolutely. So no, it wouldn't have gone dead silent like that.
I agree.
Also, there wouldn't have been a weird vacuum whooshing noise when they opened the door to space.
And silence.
Because they would have already had depressurized.
They would have exactly. So I had huge issues with the sound design in this movie.
With certain aspects of the sound design, but they're with the launch sequences and the
launch sequences are where I have
issues. Yeah, that's why I was like, good luck.
The Gemini scene, the X-15 scene, the LLRV.
Oh my God, the
also,
X-15
everyone's saying,
scene.
come on around on camera so they can see you, Ben.
I was having a heart attack
He's
during
done?
the
All
X-15
right, cool.
scene.
He's done.
Oh my God! That's my favorite shot in the movie, by the way, was when Armstrong was flying the X-15 and he looks down and they're on re-entry and he looks down and he could see the skin of the X-15 glowing, coming up and lighting up the bottom below him. I was just literally like, oh my God, I never thought of that. Yeah. Oh my God! It's just like, holy
terrifying.
I almost pooped myself when I saw that. Honestly, I was, before
I was
this
sitting
movie,
next to Jared and I smelled it.
Yeah. Before this movie, I was like, dude, I really want to ride in an X-15. That's going to be sick. That'd be so amazing. After this movie, hell no.
Yeah.
I will pass. So.
Haley, did you have like a favorite, well, with no spoilers?
No spoilers. Oh my goodness.
Favorite part or really terrible part?
So I just saw it yesterday, so it's all really, really fresh. I think the hardest part of it was that it was real, and that when watching this movie, you get so invested, and we know the story. Like all of us, we've paid attention to the Apollo program, so we know the pieces of the story, but we're seeing it again play out, and then the movie ends, and there was no like Avengers-esque like pull me in at the end of the credits, like, oh, there's going to be a sequel. It was just like, it was so beautifully done, but then it was done. And so I was left wanting more, but
Same.
So now we'll just have to have another amazing space program to have more amazing, wonderful first movies about.
Yeah.
The sad part is like there is no sequel because we never went back to the moon after Apollo yet. That's kind of depressing.
Yeah. Ooh, Ben makes a really good point about the end of the movie. It was done kind of like humans on the moon after Apollo.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ow!
Sick bird, man.
Ow!
So but I thought it was very sweet. There was no script to it. It was him in quarantine, and his wife Janet came into quarantine, and they didn't say hi. They didn't say welcome back. There was no questions. It was just like it was that touching moment between the couple that hadn't existed in this entire drama yet. That was just like, it's a good point. It was very nice. That was probably a spoiler, but you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll live.
Yeah. Carrie Ann was saying that you compared it to From Earth to the Moon from HBO.
I did. So if you haven't seen that docuseries, it's really well done. I've seen it several times. I would highly recommend. But just like it was like almost that like docu-series, especially including the elements of Gemini 8 and then Apollo 1. Just the presentation of those, I guess, very grave moments in space exploration was really well done.
Oh, interesting. I actually haven't seen From Earth to the Moon, but I think I will now.
Get out.
Yes. Yeah.
Get out.
That's very, very good.
That's required watching for Tomorrow Crew.
There's a lot of required watching for tomorrow.
I have it on DVD. I'll bring it with me the next time that I come to California. You can borrow it. It's
Sounds good.
Also, some more required viewing In the Shadow of the Moon.
In the Shadow of the Moon. Wait,
That's a fantastic documentary.
I'm going to start a list.
As well. Also, the original space documentary for all mankind.
Why don't we start a list on the community forums?
You gonna watch that?
I've already got a list. I can.
Yeah, Donna has a comprehensive list.
Forums, community.TMRO.TV. I keep plugging it because it's amazing and you should be
And you've all seen The Right Stuff, right?
I will do that this afternoon.
Wait, that's a movie?
Right Stuff.
Okay, so this kind of tracks back to... Okay, so when they open up to the X-15 flight, they're up in Mojave. I'm assuming that was the Ed Ford's Air Force Base. Was it that basin right there? That's the test programs that were leading into the Mercury astronaut program. So how they kind of got all of that, the Mercury 7. It's really well done. Yeah, make sure everybody watches that one. I have a DVD if anybody desperately needs to borrow it.
Yeah, The Right Stuff is equally about the Mercury 7 as it is equally about Chuck Yeager as a test pilot.
Okay.
So,
yeah, he's listed here.
the best pilot you ever saw.
He was featured in the film, right?
Millennials are looking up The Right Stuff, which is like a staple movie for the foundation of everything that anybody understands about spaceflight movies.
But is there an Instagram filter for that?
It literally brought on the walking
You were
down
just
the
playing
hall
along
in a
with the whole
spacesuit
millennial.
shot.
Hey, I have seen the other super important required movie for tomorrow, which is The Core. So, I've seen some.
Writing that down too.
I started watching that a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't.
Have you seen The Core?
I have not. I
have that written down.
I don't know.
The space shuttle lands in Los Angeles. It's amazing. It's my favorite part of the whole movie.
This sounds very interesting. Where does...
So you only need to watch the first 5 minutes?
So I'll just have to watch it, and then all of my
It's like wanting to
questions
watch
will be answered.
Geostorm because they launch 100 space shuttles at the same time.
That's amazing! What?
Oh my gosh, wait, there's...
Geostorm, worst freaking movie ever, but
You know, there's
They did 100 space shuttles at launch, and you can tell that they just copied and pasted the same render like on screen. It looks terrible.
There's this really cool animation that a group of students actually made for NASA Launch Services program, NASA LSP, and the students all picked a different vehicle, and then they worked together in groups to like make the animation for this vehicle and all the assets that go with it. And it's like this rendering of like Space Shuttle, SLS, other small launch vehicles. Launching together and like I don't know how to explain it. I wish we had it that I could show you, but then like YouTube copyright, whatever. But look it up, NASA LSP. I think it's the Venture Class promo video. And yeah, so you see a space shuttle coming out here, and he's like a Delta IV, and he's an Atlas V, and he's a Falcon 9, and they're all like flying up in formation together, and it just kind of gets me excited of like what can we achieve if we all were launching together?
Why have we ever done that? Where we've launched multiple.
Is that it?
Whoa.
Yeah, I think so. It's like 3 minutes long. Here's the part that I think is really cool. Let's copy paste that in the chat if we can, if someone can find it.
Ooh, nice. That's cool.
So it's like this part. How cool is this part? Ready?
out.
And then it kind of talks about, we have all these rockets, we've do these amazing things, and like,
I'm getting goosebumps, but it's also really cold in here. But this is amazing. Imagine this happened in real life. You're just like, hey, and there's like another one going by.
Now, realistically, I feel like the plumes would all interact and like mess everybody up. This part.
Oh, okay.
How awe-inspiring is this part?
Is that a Falcon 1?
Potentially.
Behind the shuttle.
Oh my gosh, it is a Falcon 1.
Like look at all that. Look at all these rockets.
What? Which one is beating all of them? What is this?
It's NASA's own rocket.
Oh. Everyone is like, show us, share with us, paste in the comments. And we're just going to sit here and watch. Sorry, guys. No, okay, wait. I don't even know. I can't attach it because I don't know what
is this one supposed to be?
So we just posted it in
we did post it.
Is this like their future?
Oh, it looks like a carbon fiber rocket.
I wonder what are some of the problems they're going to have to contend with.
Anyway, the reason I like this is it reminds me of that one section in First Man movie. You know, like you watch, there's this shot of like Neil or whatever about to get on, and then he looks out the window. And the Agena vehicle takes off. That's really cool to me.
So
like I feel like
I was thinking that as well. It's like, hey, like my neighbors are leaving, I'm about to leave too. It's like leaving your garage. It's cool. It's like driving out, and your neighbors are driving out to go to work, and you're like, well, I'm going to Mars today. Where are you going? I'm going to Jupiter. Like
that feeling of like we're all launching at the same time. We all need to kind of coordinate with each other. Oh, hopefully we don't like launch at the same time and like get too close together.
Now, no one will ever leave the Earth.
Venture class.
Like yeah. I suppose we could have like shown.
Wait, did you say like
shown it to the camera?
Like students did this?
Yeah.
This is a NASA Kennedy video.
Students
made
that.
We should be able to show this. We
That's
shouldn't
really
get
well
in trouble
done.
in any sort of copyright issues.
I don't even think I can
public
like
domain, man.
edit a Vine like that.
Are we allowed to do that? I don't know. I don't want to like risk it and then like our thing gets like copyright.
Wait, did we not post it?
Someone did share
someone
it.
put a link in.
So I just reminded saying, hey guys, just let me try and copy and
Here,
paste
let me
it
drop
again.
a link for it.
Space. Copy.
It's the NASA LSP Venture Class Launch Services like promo video animation.
Oh, Jared
Yes,
also
this was
repasted
made by
it.
students.
There you go.
Original music and stuff like that, but they created it for NASA and it's published on NASA channels, which means that it's public domain. So we shouldn't get in trouble if we were to show it.
Can we make that happen? Can we show it? I don't know how to make it happen.
Well, we've added it to the chat.
But yeah, I think it's really
We could
inspiring.
open up a new window. Yeah, that would actually be really cool. So I'm glad that came up in conversation. That's so cool.
That's what I want.
Yeah, I just feel
I
like
did want to
it's
ask
interesting.
Jared, with X-15, have you ever heard of Michael Adams?
Mike just asked Jared about someone called Michael Adams. I have to.
Yes,
The
actually,
X-15 program.
Yes, Detta and I have been to his site out in the Mojave. So,
my grandfather used to fly with him in Korea and has told me a bunch of X-15 stories. That was his buddy.
Wow.
And he was one of the pilots who died in the X-15 program. So.
Yeah, we actually went out to the crash site to pay our respects a couple months ago. We went on a Sunday trip together to a bunch of crash sites out there to kind of pay our respects to the test pilots who've lost their lives. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. Sorry to bring it downer here. I wanted to mention that earlier. But
that was cool, Mike. I didn't know you had that connection. Like, that's kind of stuff.
So seeing First Man and seeing how crazy that flight was, especially him skipping off the atmosphere, I'm just like, oh man, this reminds me of all those stories that my grandpa used to tell me about how scary the X-15 was.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was not an easy thing to fly.
Mike just said that the scene where the X-15
where he's skipping off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, are we winding down?
I think we are.
I think we're winding down.
I think so.
Yeah, so we didn't have a guest booked for next week, but we're working it, and we should have a guest confirmed hopefully by the middle of the week.
Because we're going to be in space.
We'll let you know. It's going to be amazing. So that's all I got. Well, wait, I want to do that thing where you like say, see you later next time, bye, and like the YouTubers, and like they run up to the camera and they're like, see you later next time, bye, and they do that, and then like it fades to black. And they said there was no one there to fade it to black, so that didn't work.
Subscribe.